Chapter 599. After ascending to the heavenly realm, one must surpass the venerable immortal realm and pass the divine tribulation to ascend to the heavenly realm. In many immortal realms, those who could ascend were absolute geniuses. After reaching the venerable immortal realm, one would have a lifespan of an era. An epoch was equivalent to 1,000,000,000,000 years. To break through from the venerable immortal realm to the God realm in an era was 1 in 10,000. Many venerable immortals died of old age because they couldn't break through to the God realm because their lifespan was exhausted. However, Shangwan Bo and Elder Yi were certain that Murong Yu could become a God realm cultivator. However, whether or not Murong Yu could become a God realm cultivator was still unknown. Old Man Yi, you said that Brother Murong can heal Old Guan's broken arm? Old Guan, that brat, must be very depressed after seeing our strength increase these days. Shangwan Bo said with a chuckle. It was strange. The three of them were best friends, and each of them had some hidden illness. Because of this, they couldn't increase their strength. However, after Murong Yu appeared, he healed Shangwan Bo and Elder Yi. Without the interference of those hidden diseases, Shangwan Bo and Elder Yi's strength had already recovered to its peak in these years, and there was even some growth. Among the three of them, Guan Jie was the only one who had used most of his power to suppress that strange power due to his missing arm, which prevented him from increasing his strength. This made Guan Jie very depressed. Even Shangwan Bo and the others were a little worried. It should be possible, Yi Feng said faintly with a confident look on his face. He believed in Murong Yu's medical skills. At this moment, in the room, Murong Yu began to purify the energy for Guan Jie. The energy was terrifying. Even with Guan Jie's immortal Emperor realm strength, he could only barely suppress it. He couldn't expel it from his body. Because of this, Guan Jie didn't have any extra energy to cultivate, let alone break through. Before breaking through, even the life force couldn't purify the energy. Elder Guan, I'm starting. Murong Yu transmitted his voice to Guan Jie and said in a deep voice, Let's begin. Guan Jie was looking forward to it. He was excited, but he was also nervous. If Murong Yu couldn't purify this power at this time, then he could only wait until he was stronger. However, although Murong Yu's breakthrough was unprecedented, who knew how long it would take for him to break through to the next realm? Seeing that Shangwan Bo and Yi Feng had both recovered to their peak, Guan Jie was a little envious, but at the same time, a little depressed. The surging power kept invading Guan Jie's power and even devouring it. Most of Guan Jie's power was used to suppress these strange forces. An incomparably powerful life force emanated from Murong Yu's body and surged into Guan Jie's body, arriving at his severed arm. Guan Jie's power put Murong Yu's life force inside. Then, Murong Yu controlled the life force to quickly rush up. Chua! Murong Yu turned the life force into an incomparably sharp saber and directly cut off the strange force. At the same time, more life force rushed up and surrounded this power that was cut off. This power was abnormally ferocious. Although it was wrapped in the power of life, it revealed its sharp claws and fangs, rampaging and bombarding the power of life. It wanted to break the power of life and even tried to devour it. Murong Yu sneered in his heart. With a thought, a large amount of life force crazily rushed over. Purify for me. The life force transformed into sabers with terrifying combat power and began to frenziedly slash at the strange power. It's working. Guan Jie focused on Murong Yu's movements. At this moment, his face suddenly revealed a hint of surprise. This was because he saw that Murong Yu's method was working. With every bombardment by Murong Yu, the trapped strange force was purified by a lot. Although the speed was not very fast, it was effective after all. Seeing that the life force was effective, Murong Yu was also very happy in his heart. This was because he had tried this method before, but at that time, the life force could not do anything to these strange forces at all. Controlling the life force to constantly purify these strange forces, Murong Yu felt a little helpless in his heart. His strength was still too low. If he had the strength of the immortal Emperor realm, with the strength of his life force at that time, he could quickly destroy these strange forces. However, at this time, it was very difficult. If only the yin-yang fire could enter here. Moron-yu could not help but sigh. He believed that with the horror of the yin-yang fire, it could burn these strange forces. However, the yin-yang fire did not enter Guan Jie's body like his power. If anything were to happen, Guan Jie might be burned to ashes or even be burned to ashes. It's been half a day and they still haven't come out. I think this time it should be fine. In a manner, Shang Wanbo and Yi Feng revealed relaxed smiles on their faces. Before this, Moron-yu also tried to treat Guan Jie, but at that time, they came out very quickly. Because Moron-yu could not do anything. Now that they came out after so long, they should be able to purify these strange forces. Otherwise, if they could not purify them, they would have come out long ago. They're out. Yifeng's eyes suddenly lit up because he saw that Moron-yu and Guan Jie had already opened the door and walked out. Shang Wanbo and Shang Wanbo's faces were filled with joy when they saw Guan Jie. "Oh Guan, it's done?" Yi Feng and Shang Wanbo were overjoyed and quickly asked. "It's just some effect. If you want to completely purify it, I'm afraid it will take some time," Moron-yu said with a smile. "Haha, as long as it's effective, time is not a problem." Shang Wanbo laughed loudly, sincerely happy for Guan Jie. "Oh Guan, I told you that you wouldn't have any problems. With Moron here, it'll be hard for you to have any problems. How about it? Have you thought about what to give Moron as a reward? In my opinion, your Guan clan should just directly join the Heavenly Court," Yi Feng said with a smile. Guan Jie glared at Yi Feng and Shang Wanbo and said with a smile, "Unfortunately, the Guan clan is not mine. If I were like you guys, it wouldn't be a bad idea to let the Guan clan join the Heavenly Court." The three of them were very optimistic about Moron-yu and his Heavenly Court. If they were allowed to join the Heavenly Court, their clans might be able to use this opportunity to become even stronger. "This is your clan. How can I let you join the Heavenly Court? As for the reward, forget it. It doesn't matter if you want it or not. After all, we're friends. Besides, I don't lack it now," Moron-yu said indifferently. He really did not care about Guan Jie's reward. However, if the Guan clan were to join the Heavenly Court, this was a good idea. However, even if Guan Jie was willing, Moron-yu would not accept it. After all, the Guan clan was much stronger than the Heavenly Court. As a master of the Heavenly Court, Moron-yu could not control the Guan clan. A force that he could not control was not beneficial to the development of the Heavenly Court. On the contrary, it would hinder the development of the Heavenly Court. Of course, if Moron-yu could control these forces, he would not mind a clan like the Guan clan joining the Heavenly Court. "Haha, no matter what, we have to thank you properly. Today, you don't have to go back. Come and have a few drinks with us." For the next few days, Moron-yu helped Guan Jie purify the strange energy every day. However, this was obviously a big project and could not be completely purified in a short period of time. On this day, he summoned Xiahou Zhuo. "Xiahou Zhuo, tell me, what's wrong with your body?" Moron-yu asked in a deep voice. "Many years ago, I was ambushed by a mortal enemy and my soul was injured. Although I killed that mortal enemy, my soul was unable to recover," Xiahou Zhuo said with a gloomy face. Originally, his talent was considered to be at the level of a genius. If not for that mortal enemy's ambush which injured his soul, he would not only be at the early stage of the immortal Emperor realm, he would have reached the intermediate stage of the immortal Emperor realm or even higher. However, after his soul was injured, his cultivation could only be described as twice the effort for half the result. If his cultivation speed in the past was considered to be 1,000 miles a day, then his current cultivation speed was basically stagnant. If his soul was unable to recover, the early stage of the immortal Emperor realm would be his greatest achievement in this lifetime. Soul injury? Moron-yu frowned slightly. Problems in other parts of his body did not pose any pressure to Moron-yu. However, soul? That was a little difficult. Don't resist. Let me see what's going on. As he spoke, Moron-yu's spiritual will entered Xiahou Zhuo's body. Xiahou Zhuo's body shook slightly and then relaxed. Murong Yu's spiritual will entered Xiahou Zhua's soul space. So that's how it is. When he saw Xiahou Zhua's soul, Murong Yu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Compared to Yu Mengqing's broken soul, the problem with Xiahou Zhua's soul was not a problem at all. It could even be said that with Murong Yu's current ability, he could completely recover it in a short time. However, Murong Yu's face darkened and said, "Xiahou Zhua, your soul is seriously injured. If you are unable to recover, your life will come to an end." Hearing Murong Yu's words, Xiahou Zhua's heart sank and a trace of hope disappeared with the wind. "Sacred Lord, is it possible to recover?" Seeing Xiahou Zhua's appearance, Murong Yu secretly laughed in his heart. However, on the surface, he had a serious expression. "I can help you recover the injury to your soul, but I'm afraid it will take a long time." Murong Yu was lying with his eyes wide open. He didn't even blush when he talked big. He clearly had the ability to repair Xiahou Zhua's soul effortlessly, but he had purposely said so. This was because Murong Yu knew that if he casually repaired Xiahou Zhua's soul, Xiahou Zhua wouldn't feel anything at all and wouldn't be grateful to him at all. However, if Murong Yu slowly repaired his soul and made Xiahou Zhua feel how difficult it was for Murong Yu to repair his soul, then Xiahou Zhua would be very grateful to Murong Yu. In this way, Xiahou Zhua would be even more loyal to Murong Yu in the future. This was a method of controlling people, the method of a superior. Chapter 600. A year later, under Murong Yu's treatment, the strange power in Guan Jie's severed arm was finally completely purified. After the purification, Guan Jie was exceptionally happy. His gratitude towards Murong Yu was indescribable. On the other side, Xiahou Zhua's soul, which could have been easily cured, was not healed yet. However, Murong Yu had already partially restored his soul. Even though it was not fully restored, Xiahou Zhua could feel that his soul was gradually recovering. This was because he found that his strength had increased a little while he was cultivating. Even if it was just a little bit, it was still progress. This was simply hope for him in the past. Moreover, as long as he continued the treatment, his soul would recover one day. Therefore, Xiahou Zhua's gratitude to Murong Yu surpassed everything else. He believed that as long as Murong Yu completely restored his soul, he would most likely completely submit to Murong Yu. This was all thanks to Murong Yu's means. Murong Yu felt a little ashamed that he had to resort to such means in order to completely subdue this immortal emperor-level expert. However, in order to subdue Xiahou Zhua, such means were necessary. At worst, he would take care of Xiahou Zhua more in the future. During this process, more and more experts came to join the Heavenly Court because of its reputation. However, as more and more people joined, the Heavenly Court's examination became stricter. However, those top experts still had a wait-and-see attitude. In this year, except for the immortal kings who joined the Heavenly Court, no immortal monarchs or immortal emperors joined. In this regard, Murong Yu did not care. Since these people had already come to Feng City, it was only a matter of time before they joined the Heavenly Court. It all depended on how he operated. "Mingji, your soul should be fine. You can feel it." Murong Yu withdrew the life force and said to Mingji with a smile. Mingji's soul had been damaged, and all these years, Murong Yu had been helping him recover. At this time, he had finally restored Mingji's soul in one fell swoop. The damage to Mingji's soul was very serious for him, but it was not a big deal for Murong Yu. After such a long time, Murong Yu finally restored it completely. Mingji felt that his soul was completely healed and could not help being overjoyed. He immediately got up and bowed to Murong Yu. His gratitude to Murong Yu could not be expressed in words. "Mingji, how about joining the Heavenly Court?" Murong Yu waved his hand and said with a smile, "I need to think about it. However, I will follow you for the next 100,000 years. If I change my mind one day, I might join the Heavenly Court." Solitary Doom said with a smile. He had always been a lone wolf assassin who didn't like to join any faction. If Murong Yu hadn't healed his injuries, he wouldn't have followed Murong Yu for 100,000 years. Although the heavenly court was flourishing and growing stronger, it was still too weak for those super forces. Ming-Ji did not even want to join those super forces, let alone the heavenly court. The heavenly court's door is always open for you. Murong smiled and did not insist. He then disappeared in a flash. The heavenly court is flourishing, and there are great changes almost every day. I wonder how Shenzhen and the Celestial Palace are doing? Murong pondered after returning to the main hall. The chaos, Shenzhen, the Celestial Palace, and the heavenly court were all his forces. The three of them were equal in his mind, and no one was more important. If there was a comparison, Murong's feelings for Shenzhen were deeper. After all, Shenzhen was a force established by Murong in the cultivation world. However, Shenzhen and the Celestial Palace's forces had been left far behind by the heavenly court. In the heavenly court, there were already many immortal emperors, immortal monarchs, and immortal kings. The chaos, Shenzhen, only had a few thousand nine heaven Xian immortals. The Celestial Palace probably did not even have any nine heavens Xian immortals. Neither the Shenzhen nor the Celestial Palace had any immortal kings. Immortal kings will be killed the moment they enter the southern mountain range. Murong furrowed his brows. This was what he was worried about. Although he had not reached the immortal king realm, he had the strength of an immortal king. If he went in like this, would he be killed by that inexplicable existence? In addition to this concern, Murong also felt for the first time that the existence of the South Mountains hindered the development of Shenzhen and the Celestial Palace. Originally, Murong thought that the problem of the South Mountains did not need to be solved for the time being. However, his strength had increased too quickly, and he was now a golden immortal of the great, all-embracing heaven. Because of the strangeness of the South Mountains, Murong was forced to solve the problem of the South Mountains. Black Lotus, cast a space shield on me. Murong finally decided to return to Shenzhen. However, he was worried that he would be killed by the inexplicable existence in the South Mountains. For the sake of caution, he still asked Black Lotus to cast a space shield on him. At the same time, he also took out the Heavenly Punishment Token and the Hichu Luo Shu. Once he found anything unusual, he could quickly enter these two space treasures, whichever one he could enter. He would enter. Whoosh! The scene in front of him changed, and Murong disappeared from where he was. When he reappeared, he was already in Shenzhen in the South Mountains. After appearing in Shenzhen, Murong did not immediately leave. Instead, he stood where he was. After a long time, Murong finally relaxed. He had not been attacked. I'm afraid that only those who have reached the Immortal King realm will be attacked. Before that, even if they have the strength of an Immortal King, they will not be attacked, Murong thought to himself. Then, with a shake of his body, he disappeared from where he was. Shenzhen, inside the Sacred Palace. Murong sat boldly on the seat of the Sacred Master. In the main hall were Zhang Ao, Shenzhen, and some experts from Celestial Palace. The two sects were next to each other, and the disciples of both sects knew that the actual leader of both sects was Murong. Therefore, when the news of Murong's return spread, the experts from both sects gathered in the main hall. You're all quite strong. Murong's gaze swept across everyone. He was surprised to find that everyone's strength had increased to the nine heavens Xian immortal realm. Some of the strong ones had even reached the late stage nine heavens Xian immortal realm. Obviously, these people did not rely on their own cultivation to quickly increase their cultivation. It was very likely that they had consumed immortal expansion pills to continuously increase their strength. However, although consuming immortal expansion pills was said to have no effect on the body, if they consumed these pills to increase their strength for a long time, it would not be very good for their cultivation in the future. In fact, Murong could tell at a glance that some of the people in the main hall had various problems with their bodies. These problems were very subtle, and they did not notice it. However, if their strength continued to increase, these problems would erupt. When that time came, it would have some effect on them. With a single thought, a surge of life force surged out, instantly drowning everyone. Then, under the effect of the terrifying life energy, some of the hidden problems on everyone's bodies were quickly removed. Their bodies were even cleansed by the life energy, and they were even purer than before, without any impurities, and more powerful than before. Feeling the changes in their bodies, everyone's faces were filled with surprise. Immediately, all of them excitedly thanked Morongyu. Morongyu used his hands to suppress them, and they quieted down. However, Morongyu did not withdraw the life energy. Instead, an even more vigorous life energy surged out in all directions with his body as the center. After a while, the entire Chaos Shenzhen and even the Celestial Palace were completely drowned by the life energy. After the life energy drowned the two sects, it began to surge into the bodies of the immortals, cleansing the hidden problems on their bodies and tempering their bodies. The life energy was powerful and terrifying, especially at this moment. As long as the life energy swept across everyone's bodies, some of the hidden problems on everyone's bodies were already wiped away, and their bodies were also tempered. After an hour, the life energy that drowned the two sects finally gradually disappeared, and Morongyu withdrew it into his body. At this time, the people of the two sects, even those who were cultivating in seclusion, felt that all the hidden problems on their bodies had disappeared. Their bodies were also stronger than before. After the excitement, they reacted and shouted in unison, "Long live the Holy Lord!" This was because they all knew that in the entire sect, apart from the Holy Lord Morongyu, no one else had such a powerful ability. Go and cultivate. Don't rely too much on elixirs to break through. Only the strength that comes from solid cultivation is the strongest. Morongyu's indifferent voice sounded in everyone's ears, but it made them excited again. Hearing Morongyu's words, everyone became even more excited. For a moment, they couldn't calm down. Morongyu didn't care about them anymore, and his divine consciousness quickly retreated like the tide. Within Shenzhen and the Celestial Palace, a large number of 9 Heaven Xian immortals had already appeared. Most of these people had used the Immortal Expansion Pill to raise their strength. The Immortal Expansion Pill could only raise one strength to the 9 Heavens Xian Immortal Realm. However, to break through from a 9 Heavens Xian Immortal Realm to the Immortal King Realm, one had to rely on one's own cultivation or another type of elixir, the King Breakthrough Pill. Although there was no King Breakthrough Pill to quickly raise the people of the two sects to the Immortal King Realm, Morongyu still felt that time was a little tight. I have to resolve this matter in the South Ridge as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll have to move Shenzhen and the Heavenly Demon God to another place. Morongyu frowned slightly, deep in thought. The South Ridge was a good place to cultivate, and the Immortal Spirit Chi was rich. Morongyu had no choice but to move Shenzhen and the Heavenly Demon God. Therefore, Morongyu had no choice but to settle the matter in the South Ridge. Chapter 601. It had been a month since he returned to Shenzhen. During this month, Morongyu carefully checked the southern mountains again. However, to his dismay, he did not find anything. Not finding anything did not mean that there was no danger in the southern mountains. The southern mountains had always been a forbidden area in the immortal world. Such danger naturally existed. Morongyu just cannot find it. Could it really be the remnant soul of the ancient sect, the Phantom Sect? However, how do I lure this remnant soul out? Do I have to wait until I reach the Immortal King Realm before entering the southern mountains? Morongyu muttered to himself. Once an expert who had reached the Immortal King Realm or above entered the southern mountains, he would be killed. Even an immortal emperor would be killed. One could imagine how terrifying this unknown existence was. After Morongyu reached the Immortal King Realm, once he entered the southern mountains, he would probably be killed instantly. To solve the problem of the southern mountains, he could only kill the remnant's soul or negotiate with the other party. However, Morongyu could not see the remnant soul now. There was no way to negotiate. In other words, even if the remnant soul appeared in front of him now, he would only be killed. There was no way to negotiate. This is too disgusting. Morongyu was a little frustrated. This was an unsolvable problem. In fact, Morongyu was too anxious. The problem of the Southern Mountains had always been there. Not to mention him, how many experts were there in the immortal world? He could not solve it even like this. He was a little too anxious to solve this problem in a short time. I can only give up for now. Morongyu could not think of a solution. He could only give up on this problem for now. In the following time, Morongyu stayed in Shenzhen for another year. While dealing with the matters of Shenzhen and the Celestial Palace, he also guided the people of the two sects in their cultivation. A year later, Morongyu left Shenzhen and returned to the Heavenly Penalty Palace. Naturally, Zhao Jiqing and Yu Mengqing complained when they returned after such a long time. After spending some time with them, Morongyu used his life force to nourish Yu Mengqing's soul. Finally, he found Steward Ma. Steward Ma, do you have any leads on that matter? Before going to the Immortal Land, Morongyu asked Steward Ma to investigate the sneak attack on Zhao Jiqing during her tribulation. Palace Lord, we've already investigated this matter. Morongyu's heart skipped a beat, and his face lit up with joy. This Steward Ma's ability was indeed powerful. He was able to investigate such an obscure matter. Who did it? Morongyu's face suddenly darkened. Ko Ping. Steward Ma's face darkened. When Steward Ma learned the truth, he didn't believe it either. After further investigation, he was convinced that it was indeed Ko Ping who did it that day. It's him. A figure appeared in Morongyu's mind. He knew this Ko Ping, and they had some history. This was because he was the previous enforcer of the wind and fire cultivation world, the one who had always been suppressed by Yang Lin. And his disciple, the current wind and fire cultivation world, was almost killed by Morongyu on the Five-Finger Mountain that day. At that time, Ko Ping was only an immortal monarch. In the battle between Morongyu and Mo Fo, they lost several king weapons. To Ko Ping, who was only an immortal king at that time, this was the most valuable thing. Of course, Ko Ping naturally had other things that were even more valuable. He was only an immortal king at that time. How could he have done it? Morongyu said murderously. The person who attacked Zhao Jiqing that day was at least an immortal monarch. He was even several times stronger than an ordinary immortal monarch. Ko Ping didn't have that kind of strength. That day, Ko Ping had already broken through to the immortal monarch realm. Moreover, he should have a very powerful divine weapon. Relying on this divine weapon, he could unleash his strength for a long time. In this way, it could explain why Ko Ping was able to unleash such a terrifying power that day. How did he find us? Morongyu still couldn't understand this point. That day, they had just come out of the Hichu Luoshu world. No matter how powerful Ko Ping's divination ability was, it was impossible for him to calculate their specific location in a short time and rush over to attack. Steward Ma shook his head. He didn't investigate this point. However, to be able to calculate the location of Morongyu and the others, Ko Ping must have someone who is good at divination by his side. Steward Ma, where is Ko Ping now? Morongyu's eyes flashed with a cold light. After knowing that Ko Ping had attacked that day, Morongyu already had the intention to kill him. Lin Zhou, within Lin City. He shouldn't be leaving Lin City in a short time. Steward Ma looked at Morongyu and continued. Palace Lord, although you're strong, Ko Ping is still an immortal lord. He also has a powerful divine weapon. It won't be too late for you to seek revenge after you're strong enough. Morongyu shook his head and said murderously, I don't want to wait until that day. Ko Ping must die. He was just an immortal monarch. If Morongyu wanted to kill him, there was no need for him to do it himself. It could be said that killing Ko Ping was as easy as blowing off dust for Morongyu. By the way, what does the Heavenly Punisher Palace think about my establishment of the Heavenly Court? Morongyu changed the topic. On the surface, they don't have any opinion. After all, the Heavenly Court was established by you. Although it is a branch of the Heavenly Punisher Palace, it is still your force. The people of the Heavenly Punisher Palace shouldn't have any problems. However, Steward Ma's brows furrowed slightly. Just as he was about to say something, he stopped himself. However what? Morongyu asked in a deep voice. Palace Master, the rapid development of the Heavenly Court is a good thing. but it is easy to attract the greed of others. Be careful of some people in the Heavenly Punisher Palace. They may interfere with the Heavenly Court's affairs and even want to control it. Steward Ma transmitted to Murongyu in a deep voice. This kind of thing can happen? Murongyu asked in surprise. Steward Ma nodded. This kind of thing can happen all the time. You just need to be careful. Murongyu's eyes flashed with killing intent, and he sneered in his heart. If anyone in the Heavenly Punisher Palace stretched their dog paws into the Heavenly Court, he didn't mind chopping off their paws. With the Heavenly Court's current strength, there was no need to fear these people. On the contrary, Murongyu hoped that such people would appear. This way, Murongyu would have an excuse to stir up trouble in the Heavenly Punisher Palace. Where is Murongyu? At this moment, an insufferably arrogant and disdainful voice came from the entrance of the manor, resounding in every inch of the manor. What's the matter? Murongyu slowly walked out, glanced at the person who came, and asked indifferently, The elder invites you. Come with me. The young man glanced at Murongyu indifferently, a touch of disdain flashing across his face. Because Murongyu was only a golden immortal, and he was a 9 heavens Xian immortal. A golden immortal was a punisher, and he, a 9 heavens Xian immortal, was only an ordinary disciple of the Heavenly Punisher Palace. This made him feel somewhat unbalanced. His strength was so weak. If he didn't have an innate advantage, how could he be a punisher? The young man felt indignant. Every time he met those punishers, he was very disdainful. Even so, those punishers didn't dare to do anything to him, because there was also a big figure behind him, an elder with real power in the Heavenly Punisher Palace, with great influence. Although this young man was only an ordinary disciple, there was a saying that one had to look at the owner before beating a dog. If someone beat this dog, then its owner would definitely be furious, and then the owner of the dog would take action. What elder? Why are you looking for me? Murongyu didn't miss a single detail of the young man's expression. However, he merely smiled and brushed it off. In his eyes, this young man was just a clown, and he didn't even have the thought of arguing with him. Just follow me. Don't ask so many questions. The young man's face was gloomy, and he seemed very unhappy. Murongyu frowned slightly, and immediately said indifferently, Go back and tell your elder that I'm a little unwell, and I won't be going today. In the future, when I'm not feeling well, maybe I'll go. You're courting death. How could the young man not understand the meaning behind Murongyu's words? He just didn't want to go. Immediately, the young man shouted, turned around abruptly, and slapped Murongyu with his palm, wanting to take down Murongyu. How dare you? Steward Ma shouted, took a step forward, and stood in front of Murongyu and punched out, shattering the young man's attack. At the same time, he slapped the young man hard. Slap! How could the young man, who is only in the 9 heavens Xian immortal realm, be a match for Steward Ma, an immortal king? The young man couldn't dodge at all, and he was slapped hard on the face by Steward Ma. At the same time, he was sent flying. How dare you hit me? The young man was sent flying into the distance, and he fell hard on the ground. He was dizzy from the fall, and it took him a long time to get up. Then, he cursed at Murongyu and Steward Ma angrily. Get out of here if you don't want to die. Steward Ma unleashed the aura of an immortal king and suppressed the young man until he kept retreating. Good, very good. Just you wait, I'll be back again. The young man looked at Murongyu with resentment, gritted his teeth, and turned around to fly away quickly. Ha ha ha! At this time, many people around couldn't help but laugh, which made the young man feel even more embarrassed. After the young man left, Murongyu turned to look at Steward Ma and said, Steward Ma, it's wrong of you to do that. Steward Ma was a little frightened. Palace Master, please punish me. There's no need to punish me. Next time, if you encounter such a thing, beat him hard. Just beat him to death. I'll take responsibility for everything. Murongyu said indifferently. Hearing this, Steward Ma rolled his eyes. He originally thought that Murongyu would blame him for taking action without permission, which made him nervous. However, he didn't expect that Murongyu would blame him for not being ruthless enough. Chapter 602. Although Steward Ma was somewhat speechless, he was somewhat happy in his heart. After all, following such a daring person was much better than following a cowardly coward. However, Steward Ma still had to remind Murong Yu, Palace Lord, although that youth is not worth mentioning. Behind him is Elder Qin Exan. Murong Yu said indifferently, Elder Qin Exan? What's that? Murong Yu didn't put this so-called Elder Qin Exan in his eyes. From a youth's arrogant and despotic appearance, it could be seen that this Elder Qin Exan wasn't a good person. There was a saying that went like dog, like master. Elder Qin Exan is an immortal emperor expert. In the Heavenly Punisher Palace, he is considered a relatively powerful faction. This time, he sent someone to find Palace Lord. I'm afraid he has ill intentions. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light and said with a sneer, Could it be that he wants to seize my heavenly court? Steward Ma said with a dignified expression, Maybe that's what he means. Before this, he already controlled several factions like the Heavenly Court. He dares, Murong Yu suddenly said with a murderous look, if he dares to extend his dog paw over here, not only will I break his dog paw, I'll kill that old dog of his as well. Not to mention the Heavenly Punisher Palace's Palace Lord. Even if the Heavenly Punisher Palace's Palace Lord interfered in the Heavenly Court's affairs, Murong Yu wouldn't allow it. Palace Lord, you just have to be careful. At this stage, Qin Exan may not make a move, but when the Heavenly Court becomes stronger, I'm afraid Qin Exan will make a move. Steward Ma warned. Murong Yu nodded and didn't care. Ha! In the main hall, the youth who was slapped away by Steward Ma knelt on the ground and cried bitterly. Elder, you have to make a decision for this little one. Not only did that Murong Yu beat me up, he also looked at Elder with disdain. Elder Qin Exan looked at the young man with a gloomy expression and said in a deep voice, What's going on? Murong Yu actually dared to be so audacious? Could it be that you didn't mention my name? That Murong Yu is even more hateful. He didn't want to come over from the beginning. Later on, when I mentioned that I was an elder, Murong Yu's face was filled with disdain. In the end, he threw me out. Elder, Murong Yu is looking down on you. He doesn't even have you in his eyes. If Murong Yu was here and heard the young man's words, he would definitely laugh out loud. This young man was lying with his eyes wide open. He was simply spouting nonsense. Elder Qin Exan was enraged. He slapped the table in front of him, turning it into dust. He must have eaten the guts of a leopard. He's simply courting death. Elder Qin Exan was very angry. With his strength and status, Murong Yu, a puny enforcer, dared to treat him like this? Elder, that Murong Yu's strength is mediocre and he dares to look down on you. He's really courting death. You might as well directly kill him. The young man suddenly said at this time, Get lost. Can't you teach me how to do things? Elder Qin Exan was already very angry. At this time, when he heard the young man telling him how to do things, he couldn't help but fly into a rage. He almost couldn't help but slap this bastard to death. The young man's face turned pale. I'll take my leave. As he spoke, the young man quickly left the hall. After leaving the hall, he couldn't help but look at the hall with lingering fear, and then hurriedly left. This guy obviously wanted to use Qin Exan's strength to kill Murong Yu. In the past, he also used this trick to kill some people who had offended him. It was because of this that even if he was not strong, many people in the Heavenly Penalty Palace did not dare to offend him. However, he didn't expect that the trick that used to work every time would not work at this time. Murong Yu, sooner or later, you will die in my hands. And that damn butler, I will definitely turn you into ashes. The young man's face was full of resentment. In the hall, Qin Exan's face kept changing. A puny enforcer dares to be so arrogant and ignore me? If you weren't still useful to me, I would have killed you immediately. However, now, develop the Heavenly Court for me. This power is destined to be mine. Qin Exan's mind flashed, and then he closed his eyes and entered into cultivation. Looking at Qin Exan's thoughts, he wouldn't touch Murong Yu in a short time. His idea was very good, which was to wait until Murong Yu developed the Heavenly Court. Then he would kill Murong Yu and take over the Heavenly Court. In this way, he wouldn't have to develop the Heavenly Court. It was killing two birds with one stone. However, Morongyu didn't know Qin Xian's idea. He had been waiting in the manner of the Heavenly Penalty Palace to see if Qin Xian would take any further action. However, after a month, Morongyu didn't see any action from Qin Xian. This made Morongyu a little disappointed. In that case, let's go and kill Ko Ping first. If possible, I will kill that bastard mofo too. Morongyu thought with a murderous look. Neither the master nor the disciple were good people. One wanted to kill Zhao Jiqing and even Morongyu. The other wanted to kill Morongyu and the others, and even attack the Huaxiao world of self-cultivators. If Morongyu hadn't reacted quickly, the Huaxiao world of self-cultivators would have been destroyed by mofo. After putting Zhao Jiqing and the others into the Hichu Luoshu, Morongyu left the Heavenly Penalty Palace and returned to Feng City. Now, you will fight in this world for me. Use the way of fighting to improve your strength. Don't be afraid of death, because in this world, you are immortal. After entering the Hichu Luoshu world, Morongyu took them into the Heavenly Punishment world. After a brief introduction of the Heavenly Punishment world, Morongyu asked them to cultivate here. Originally, Morongyu didn't want them to enter the Heavenly Punishment world for the time being. After all, the Heavenly Punishment world was too heaven-defying. In there, they were immortal. Once this news was leaked, there would be no place for Morongyu in this world. However, Steward Tian told Morongyu that it was okay for Zhao Jiqing and the others to know this. Once they left the Heavenly Punishment world, their memories of the Heavenly Punishment world would be sealed. This was a function of the Heavenly Punishment order. It could even be said that it was the heavens that sealed their memories. If anyone wanted to read their memories of the Heavenly Punishment order, they would have to be stronger than the heavens. However, was there anyone stronger than the heavens in the world? No. Therefore, Morongyu took them into the Heavenly Punishment world. Originally, Morongyu didn't want to tell them that they were immortal in the Heavenly Punishment world. However, if that was the case, they would not be able to fight without any scruples. That would not be good for improving their strength. There is such a heaven-defying function. Everyone was shocked. However, before they could calm down, Morongyu threw them into the Heavenly Punishment world one by one. Of course, in addition to Little Z and Yu Mengxing, there was also the big black dog that was still sleeping. Big brother, it's okay. I'm going to sleep first. I'm so sleepy. Little Z yawned and went into the room to sleep. Little Z, what's wrong? Have you been particularly sleepy recently? Morongyu looked at Yu Mengxing and asked. Yu Mengxing shook her head sadly. Little Z has been like this for the past few years. Big Rogue, am I too useless? Sister Jiqing and the others have all gone to cultivate, and I can only do nothing here. Morongyu's heart ached, but he squeezed out a smile on his face. It's okay. I will soon repair your soul. Then you can do whatever you want. Yu Mengxing shook her head and smiled bitterly. Big Rogue, I'm too useless. I've dragged you down and made you worry all day. Silly, what are you talking about? You are my woman, my wife. It is my duty to do things for you. Don't think so much about these things. Morongyu said softly. Yu Mengxing's eyes flashed with a touch of emotion. Then, her face turned slightly red, and she moved closer to Morongyu's ear and whispered, Big Rogue, how can I not obey my wife's orders? Let's go and have sex for 3 days and 3 nights. Morongyu said lecherously. With a laugh, he picked up Yu Mengxing and disappeared in a flash. Then, in a room in Hichu Luoshu, there was a burst of noises that made one's imagination run wild. Although Yu Mengxing's soul had not been repaired, it had not deteriorated under the nourishment of life force, and her body was fine. Of course, there was no problem doing this kind of thing. After the lovemaking, Morongyu left Hichu Luoshu. Then, he left Feng State with Xiahou Zhua and headed towards Lin State. Steward Tian, these evil people and good people should be divided into different levels, right? How are they divided? These days, Morongyu had been to many cities and saw many evil people and good people. The halos on these people were deep and shallow. The shallow halos were so faint that they were almost invisible. As for the deeper part, it was as if those villains had been dyed black with ink. Young Master. Steward Tion's voice appeared in Murong Yu's mind. In the past, Steward Tion used to call Murong Yu Master, but Murong Yu felt it was awkward, so he had Steward Tion call him Young Master like Hichu. No matter if they are evil or good, they are divided into stars. The lowest is 1 star. The lowest is 1 star, and the highest? 100 stars, or 1,000 stars? Murong Yu asked. The highest is without limit. Steward Tion replied. Without limit? Murong Yu froze for a moment. Now, he was a little curious. Evil people could be extremely evil and commit heinous crimes, and there might be no limit. But was there really such a person who had no limit? Chapter 603. There are all kinds of people in this world. There are those who have no limits, those who are extremely evil, and there are also those who have no limits. Regardless of whether you kill an evil person or help a good person, you will receive star points. Steward Tion explained. Star points. Murong Yu was stunned once again. He had never heard of this before. Were star points? What are they used for? Murong Yu could not help but ask. Star points are the same as points. Star points can be used to exchange for things you need in the heavenly punishment world. For example, if you need soul grass, you don't need to complete that mission. As long as you have enough star points, you can exchange for soul grass directly. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a bright light. There is such a good thing? Does it mean I can get whatever I want from the heavenly punishment token? One should know that the heavenly punishment token was a super treasure created by the heavens. Under the heavens, almost everything was created by the heavens. There was nothing that the heavens could not create, as long as there was nothing that the heavens could not create. Even if something did not exist in this world, as long as the heavens were willing, it could be created. In principle, yes. However, the prerequisite is that young master must have enough star points. Steward Tion said respectfully, How many star points do I need for Soulgrass? Murong Yu asked excitedly. 1,000,000 star points. Murong Yu was stunned. Then, he asked doubtfully, Only 1,000,000 star points? Steward Tion, are you right? Steward Tion shook his head. Young master, I am not wrong. As long as you have 1,000,000 star points, you can exchange for Soulgrass. Otherwise, you can only obtain Soulgrass by completing the mission of killing 10,000 evil people who are at the early stage of the immortal Emperor realm and above. Murong Yu's eyes shone brightly as he pondered. At the current stage, it was too difficult for him to kill 10,000 evil people who were at the immortal Emperor realm and above. Even with the help of Xiahou Zhuo and Ming Ji, it was difficult for him to complete this mission. After all, there were not many immortal emperors in the immortal world. It was not easy to kill them in some big cities or sections. Lone immortal emperors? How could it be so coincidental? Moreover, Xiahou Zhuo was only an early-stage immortal emperor. Even with Murong Yu's help, it was difficult for him to kill an ordinary early-stage immortal emperor, let alone an evildoer with a higher cultivation base. Compared to killing 10,000 immortal emperors, exchanging star points for Soulgrass was more practical. After all, there were too many evil people in this world. The weaker ones were at the sky, immortal realm. Even in the cultivation world and the mortal world, there were many villains. To Murong Yu, killing these villains was as easy as flipping his hand. Although 1,000,000 star points was a lot, Murong Yu only needed a certain amount of time to complete this mission. Young master, it's not easy to reach 1,000,000 stars. Seeing the excitement on Murong Yu's face, Steward Tion couldn't help but give him a blow. Murong Yu smiled and said, It is much easier than killing immortal emperors now, right? Also, if I kill those villains in the cultivation world, will I get a star? As long as you kill an evil person, you will get a star, regardless of your strength. However, if you kill a good person, your star points will be deducted. Once you don't have enough star points, your star points will become negative. Once your star points are negative, every time you kill a good person, your negative star points will double. Under such circumstances, the star points you get from killing an evil person will be halved. Murong Yu was speechless. This was another rule of the heavenly punishment token. Obviously, the heavenly punishment token didn't want to see Murong Yu kill the innocent. At least, he couldn't kill too many good people. What if my star points are always negative? When it reaches a certain number, the heavenly punishment token will remove you as its owner. In fact, the moment the master recognition was removed, he would die suddenly. No one in the world would be able to save him, because this is a rule set by the heavens. Steward Tion said in a deep voice. All of a sudden, Murong Yu felt an enormous pressure. However, he wasn't worried. After all, he had never killed the innocent, and now he was still considered a good person. Moreover, now that he had the heavenly punishment token, he could distinguish between good and bad people. Murong Yu wouldn't kill those good people even more. As Murong Yu communicated with Steward Tion in his mind, he quickly flew forward. At this moment, the cities that he passed by didn't have any transportation arrays. Therefore, Murong Yu could only rely on himself to fly. Fortunately, his flying speed wasn't slow. While flying, Murong Yu suddenly saw a middle-aged man flying in front of him. From afar, this middle-aged man's entire body was shrouded in a layer of pitch-black halo. It was so obscure that his entire body could not be seen. Evil person. This was the first time that Murong Yu encountered an evil person with such a dense black halo. Murong Yu estimated that this middle-aged man's evil person star level was at least 10 stars. Your strength is mediocre, but you do all kinds of evil. Since you met me today, I will release your soul. A cold light flashed in Murong Yu's eyes. This was because the middle-aged man's strength wasn't high. He was only an early stage 9 heaven Shin immortal. With a flash, Murong Yu blocked the middle-aged man's path. The middle-aged man wore a brocade robe, and a faint smile appeared on his face. When he saw Murong Yu, a great overarching golden immortal, blocking in front of him, he only frowned slightly. Then, he smiled and said to Murong Yu, "Friend, what do you need my help with? If you need help, please don't hesitate to ask. As long as I can help, I will definitely help." The middle-aged man had a warm smile on his face. In addition to his performance, he was 100% a good person. If it wasn't for the fact that Murong Yu could clearly see that he was an evil person, he might have thought that he was a good person. Murong Yu revealed a smile on his face. "I do need your help. Moreover, you will definitely be able to help. Friend, you can speak frankly." The middle-aged man still had a smile on his face. "However, before I help, I want to ask you a question. Your strength is mediocre. What kind of evil did you do to cause you to be so evil? Extremely evil?" Hearing this, the middle-aged man's expression changed abruptly. Then, he looked at Murong Yu with a gloomy face and said, "Friend, who doesn't know that I'm a good person? We don't know each other. Why are you framing me?" As he spoke, the middle-aged man's face was filled with anger. It was as if he was really framed by Murong Yu. However, Murong Yu saw a flash of coldness in his eyes. In fact, Murong Yu even felt a trace of killing intent from him. The middle-aged man already had the intention to kill Murong Yu. "Friend, you're framing me for no reason. This makes me very unhappy. You can leave. I won't help you anymore," the middle-aged man said angrily. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly stretched out his right hand and slapped Murong Yu's head. He wanted to crush Murong Yu's head. "Die," the middle-aged man sneered. His face was extremely ferocious. "You're overestimating yourself," Murong Yu sneered. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the middle-aged man's hand. At this moment, the middle-aged man felt as if his hand was being clamped by an iron pincer. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move at all. The middle-aged man's face suddenly revealed a look of panic. "Your strength is mediocre, but you've done so many evil deeds. You really deserve to die." Murong Yu slapped the middle-aged man's body. Suddenly, the middle-aged man's strength disappeared like a deflated balloon. His strength had been crippled by Murong Yu's slap. At the same time, Murong Yu began to read the middle-aged man's memory by force. He was really curious. This guy's strength was mediocre. How did he do so many evil deeds? Burning, killing, robbing, raping women, bullying men and women. There was nothing he wouldn't do. What angered Morongyu the most was that this middle-aged man didn't even let his own daughter go. He kept raping her. He even raped and killed his master's wife and daughter when his master wasn't around. Not only that, after he raped and killed his master's wife and daughter, he even told this to one of his senior brothers. He was an honest man, a very good man. In the end, this senior brother died unjustly. All kinds of evil deeds were too numerous to be recorded. Damn it! Morongyu only looked at a part of the middle-aged man's memory and saw all kinds of evil deeds. He couldn't help but be furious. With a single slap, the middle-aged man was reduced to dust. He really didn't want to continue watching. If he finished reading the middle-aged man's memory, who knew how many more evil deeds he had done? Congratulations, Master, for obtaining 1,000 stars. Just as Morongyu killed the middle-aged man, Butler Tion's voice rang in his mind. After a long time, Morongyu finally calmed down. He finally understood why heaven created the heaven's punishment order and why he didn't care about it. He had seen too many of such evil deeds. It was really infuriating. He had only seen the middle-aged man's evil deeds, and he was already so furious. What more when heaven saw all the evil deeds in the world? There were people committing evil deeds at every moment. If Morongyu saw this scene, he might even have the thought of destroying the world. Butler Tion, I have 1,000 stars just like that. I'm one step closer to 1,000,000 stars. I've already completed 1,000th of it. After Morongyu calmed down, he smiled. Young master, you're too optimistic. This time you obtained 1,000 stars in one go. It was really lucky. This middle-aged man had already reached the level of a 100-star evil man. Therefore, after killing him, the number of stars one would obtain would be relatively more. However, not every 100-star evil man would have so many stars. Young master, you'll know in the future. Butler Tion couldn't help but mock Morongyu. Chapter 604. Bang! Morongyu killed an expert of the immortal king realm with a single punch. Under his absolute strength, even an ordinary immortal king would be killed in 2 moves by him. Congratulations, young master. You have obtained 1 star point. After the immortal king was killed, Steward Tion's voice rang in Morongyu's ears. Hearing this, Morongyu could not help but feel depressed. Steward Tion, how many star points do I have now? Morongyu kept the immortal king's storage ring and asked at the same time. Congratulations, young master. Your star points have already reached 1,138. Steward Tion replied without hesitation. Morongyu's face was even more depressed. At the beginning, he had obtained 1,000 star points after killing the middle-aged man who had committed heinous crimes. He had already obtained 1,000 of the star points that could be exchanged for soul grass. Originally, Morongyu thought that it would be easy to obtain star points. However, in the following period of time, he had killed more than 100 villains, but the number of star points he had obtained was so low that it made one's hair stand on end, just like the immortal king that he had just killed. Although this guy was in the immortal king realm, after killing him, Morongyu only obtained 1 star point. This was because this immortal king was only a 1-star villain. If I want to quickly obtain star points, I can only kill those villains with a higher star level. Morongyu shook his head and continued to move forward. Along the way, whenever he encountered villains with a higher star level who were alone or not very strong, he would directly kill them. In fact, when he arrived at some cities, Morongyu even saw black gas soaring into the sky from these cities. This was because there were many villains in the cities. However, in these cities, there were also many white lights. Every city was intertwined with white light and black gas. This showed that in the cities, villains and good people coexisted. In some cities, Morongyu even found villains with extremely high star levels. According to Morongyu's estimation, as long as he killed these villains, he might be able to obtain several thousand stars or even more. However, these evil men were either extremely strong or belonged to some faction. Morongyu could not do anything to them in the city. However, when he saw more and more villains, Morongyu's worldview was completely overturned. Before this, He thought that there were many villains in the world. However, at that time, he was unable to see those evildoers. Imagining and seeing were two completely different things. Therefore, when he saw more and more villains, he became more and more shocked. However, at the same time, he was also pleasantly surprised. The more villains there were, the more benefits he would gain from the heavenly punishment order, as long as he had the strength to kill these evil people. However, Murongyu's current goal was not to kill these evil men and exchange them for star points. Now that Yu Mengqing's soul had been stabilized, even if she couldn't obtain the soul grass in a short period of time, she would still be fine. Moreover, it was only 1 million star points. After he killed Ko Ping, he would have time to focus on this matter. Lin State. It was one of the millions of states in the immortal world. Although it was not as strong as the super states like Lingnan State, it was still much stronger than the big states like Feng State. This was because Lin State had many first-rate factions, even super first-rate factions, and even a super faction. Overall, Lin State's strength was very strong. Lin family. It was a super faction in the immortal world, a well-deserved overlord-level faction in Lin State. A so-called super faction was a faction that had immortal venerables overseeing it. At the same time, it also had a strong foundation. A faction that could become a super faction was definitely a terrifying faction. The Lin family was such a faction, and the Lin family was in the strongest city in Lin State, Lin City. It was the city that Murongyu wanted to go to. Swoosh! Rays of light constantly flashed from the teleportation array. One by one, experts were teleported from different places and arrived in Lin City. With Murongyu's strength, he was not qualified to use the teleportation array, even if he had an immortal meridian. However, he had the immortal Emperor Xiahou Zhuo by his side. Hichu, sense the entire Lin City for me. I want to find Ko Ping's location as soon as possible. After teleporting to Lin City, Murongyu directly told Hichu to sense Ko Ping's location. According to Stu Ma's information, Ko Ping was in this city and would not leave for a while. However, a few years had passed, and Murongyu did not know if Ko Ping was in Lin City. Once Ko Ping left Lin City, it would be difficult for Murongyu to find him. After all, the immortal world was too big, and Murongyu's faction was not very strong. Young master, there are many experts in this city. If I sense with all my strength, I'm afraid it will attract the attention of some experts. Ichu said to Murongyu after sensing for a while. Be careful, don't worry. Murongyu transmitted his words and then began to wander around Lin City. Lin City was many times bigger than Feng City, which had been expanded 10 times. Moreover, it was very prosperous with many immortals. All of them are stars. Murongyu's eyes blazed as he watched people covered in black halos walk past him. In fact, he even saw some evil people who were not very strong, but had very dense black halos. These villains had very high stars. However, Murongyu did not dare to act rashly. He knew that Lin City was a faction of a Lin family. If he killed a large number of people here, the Lin family would interfere. Let's find Ko Ping first and kill him. Murongyu walked to a deserted corner and put Xiahou Zhuo into the Hichu Luoshu world. Then he walked aimlessly in Lin City. Whoosh! Just as Murongyu was walking aimlessly on the street, a white light suddenly shot past Murongyu and quickly rushed forward. Chase! Don't let that bastard escape. Damn it, I must catch him. I want to skin him alive and break his bones. Then, a burst of curses came from behind Murongyu. A few strong winds swept past Murongyu. A few black lights passed by Murongyu and chased after the white light in front of him. What's the situation? Murongyu narrowed his eyes and looked forward again. This time, he finally saw it clearly. This white and black light was not the light emitted by these people's cultivation methods. It was the black and white halos on their bodies. The person in front was covered in a white halo. The white halo was very dense, like a white cloud that almost enveloped that person. Of course, no matter how dense the white or black halo was, it would not make Murongyu unable to see the other party's appearance. Murongyu could see through the other party's appearance at a glance. This is a very good person. When he saw this person, Murong Yu was shocked. The white halo on this person's body was very dense. He was at least 100 stars, good person. Butler Tian, what star level is this good person? Murong Yu was shocked. At the same time, he asked Butler Tian in his mind. More than 500 stars. His star level is probably even higher. Butler Tian's voice revealed a hint of surprise. Although good people could be limitless, those kinds of people were very rare. Those bad people chasing after him, their villain star levels are not low. Young master, if you can help that good person and kill these villains, you should be able to obtain a large number of stars. Butler Tian's voice sounded in Murong Yu's mind, causing Murong Yu to be moved. If I help that good person and kill these villains, how many stars would I get? Murong Yu asked. It will definitely be more than 1,000 stars, but I don't know the specifics. Murong Yu's eyes lit up. More than 1,000 stars. After killing the middle-aged man and obtaining 1,000 stars, he only obtained a little more than 100 stars after killing more than 100 villains. That good person, I will definitely save him. Murong immediately decided. Then, he increased his speed and chased forward. Everyone, let's talk slowly. Murong Yu's speed was extremely fast. He almost instantly caught up with the few people in front of him and blocked the villains on the street. Where did this bastard come from? Get out of my way. When one of the villains saw Murong Yu blocking him, he could not help but shout. He threw a punch at Murong Yu. As expected of a villainous person, he did not even look and directly attacked. You are courting death. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. Although the black halo on these guys was not as black as the middle-aged man he killed earlier, they were definitely villains with a few dozen stars. Most importantly, these guys were not very strong. They were all great, overarching golden celestials. With Murong Yu's strength that was close to that of a celestial duke, it would be easy for him to kill a few great, overarching golden celestials. It would not even alarm many people. Therefore, Murong Yu made his move. Die! Murong Yu shouted in a deep voice and struck out with his palm. It struck the great, overarching golden celestial who attacked him at lightning speed. Bang! After a muffled sound, the great, overarching golden celestial's attack disappeared before it could even hit Murong Yu. This was because the great, overarching golden celestial had been beaten into a bloody mist by Murong Yu. He did not show any mercy. After killing the great, overarching golden celestial, Murong Yu made his move again. Bang! 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 4 great, overarching golden celestials and a late-stage, overarching heavenly supreme celestial did not even have time to react before they were killed by Murong Yu. At this moment, the great, overarching golden celestial who was being chased finally reacted. He stopped on the street and stared blankly at Murong Yu with a look of disbelief. Congratulations, young master. You have obtained 1,500 stars. You have a total of 2,638 stars. You're one step closer to 1,000,000 star points. At this moment, Steward Tian's voice finally echoed in Murong Yu's mind. Chapter 605. Murong Yu ignored Steward Tian and looked at the good guy instead. He was curious about the person with such a dense white halo. What kind of person was he? He was a young man of about 27 or 28 years old. At this moment, the young man's face was pale and he seemed to be in shock. At the same time, there was a trace of disbelief on his face. His eyes were shining with a strange light as he stared at Murong Yu and sized him up. The young man was very ordinary and his strength was not strong. He was only in the golden immortal realm. With such strength in the young man's appearance, he would be drowned out by the crowd and could not attract attention at all. All in all, this young man was an ordinary man who couldn't be more ordinary. If Murong Yu did not see that his body was shrouded in a dense white halo, he would not have taken a second look at him. His strength is not high and he is ordinary. How can such a person be a good guy? How'd he do it? Murong Yu was very curious and wanted to read this guy's memory. However, Murong Yu did not do so. If the other party was a bad person, Murong Yu would not hesitate to kill him and read his memory. However, this young man was a good guy. If he read his memory, he would be punished by the heavens and lose some stars. Senior, thank you for saving my life. My name is Hong Ming. Senior, those people you killed were disciples of the Black Profound sect. If they find out, they will definitely harm you. Senior, you should leave Forest City quickly. While speaking, Hong Ming kept looking around with a panicked expression on his face. Obviously, this guy was afraid that the people of the Black Profound sect would come looking for him. However, even though he was scared to death, he didn't immediately flee for his life. Instead, he urged Murong Yu to leave. Hong Ming's actions made Murong Yu realize something. He vaguely understood why Hong Ming had become such a good person. It's just the Black Profound sect. I don't care about it. Hong Ming, you look very panicked. You should leave quickly. Murong Yu said with a faint smile. Hong Ming shook his head with a resolute look on his face. Senior, this is all because of me. Moreover, it was also because of me that you provoked the Black Profound sect. If I, Hong Ming, were to leave, the heavens and earth would not tolerate me. Even if the Black Profound sect is very powerful, I will not leave. Unless you leave as well, I'll fight them to the death. Speaking of the Black Mysterious sect, Hong Ming was terrified. This was because the Black Mysterious sect was a first-rate force in the Heaven Realm. There were powerful forces with immortal monarchs overseeing them. Although the Black Mysterious sect was nothing in Forest City, that was only in comparison to a colossus like the Lin family. To a nobody like Hong Ming, the Black Mysterious sect was a colossus. He was absolutely unable to go against the Black Mysterious sect. Hong Ming, the Black Mysterious sect can't do anything to me. You don't need to fight with them. Take this opportunity to leave Forest City, Murong Yu kindly advised. However, Hong Ming shook his head. He had made up his mind not to leave. Although Murong Yu was powerful, he was definitely not a match for the Black Mysterious sect. If he stayed with Murong Yu, he might have the strength to fight against the Black Mysterious sect. Of course, this was just Hong Ming's idea. He did not know Murong Yu's strength. Murong Yu rolled his eyes. He felt that although Hong Ming was kind, he was too stubborn. In other words, he was too kind. He did not want to see Murong Yu face the Black Mysterious sect alone and wanted to stay with him. If Murong Yu did not know that this guy was a good person, he would have thought that Hong Ming deliberately stayed to seek his protection. Young Master, Ko Ping's location has been found. He is in the Forest City branch of the Heavenly Punishment Palace. No, they have already left and are in the Fragrance Restaurant. At this time, Hichu's voice suddenly sounded in Murong Yu's mind. At the same time, an image appeared in Murong Yu's mind. It was Ko Ping and the others. However, when he saw that group of people, Murong Yu's face could not help but show a touch of surprise. Why are they together? Interesting. Murong Yu's face suddenly showed a smile. However, his smile in Hong Ming's eyes made Hong Ming slightly surprised, because Hong Ming saw that Murong Yu's smile was a bit gloomy, even with a touch of fierce murderous intent. Senior, Hong Ming was about to speak, but was interrupted by Murong Yu. Hong Ming, right? I have some matters to attend to at the Wafting Fragrance Restaurant. If you want to stay by my side, you can come with me. As he spoke, Murong Yu took large strides towards the Wafting Fragrance Restaurant. Fragrance Restaurant? A glint suddenly flashed through Hong Ming's eyes. Immediately after, he followed Murong Yu and quickly flew towards the restaurant. The Fragrance Restaurant was the most luxurious and high-end restaurant in Lin City. It was one of the best restaurants. The expenses here were extremely expensive, and ordinary people did not dare to come here to spend money. This was because the expenses here were paid with immortal veins. Ordinary people had not even seen immortal veins, and some sects did not even have immortal veins. Therefore, those who could spend money at the Fragrance Restaurant were either experts or disciples of great forces. At this time, in a private room on the third floor of the Fragrance Restaurant, Mo Fo was smiling as he poured a glass of wine for a gorgeous woman beside him. At the same time, he said with a smile, "Junior Sister Fong, it's rare for you to come out. This time, let me treat you. The Fragrance Restaurant's fragrance, wine, tastes pretty good. You should try it." Feng Ro. In the private room, besides Ko Ping and his disciple, there were also Feng Ro and Luo Yang. Feng Ro was the enforcer of the mysterious Sky Continent's cultivation world, and her master, Luo Yang, was the previous enforcer. At this time, the four of them are gathered together? No need. I don't like to drink. Feng Ro looked at Mo Fo and said indifferently. Hearing this, a vague light flashed in Mo Fo's eyes. However, because he lowered his head, the other three did not notice it. You don't like to drink? Then try these desserts. They taste pretty good. Mo Fo smiled as he picked up a few desserts and put them in Feng Ro's bowl. Feng Ro frowned slightly. This time, she did not say anything, but she did not eat the desserts. Luo Yang, who was beside Feng Ro, shook his head. They all knew Mo Fo's feelings for Feng Ro. However, Feng Ro did not have a good impression of Mo Fo, let alone have feelings for him. Even Luo Yang kept shaking his head at Mo Fo. This guy's talent was not bad, but compared to Morongyu, he was still far behind. When he thought of Morongyu, Luo Yang could not help but think of Yang Lin. I wonder how strong this pair of master and disciple are now. That old man Yang Lin should have broken through to the immortal emperor realm, right? That kid Morong, you should also be strong. I wonder if the master of the heavenly court, Morongyu, who's been the talk of the town recently, is this guy? While Mo Fo was trying to please Feng Ro, Morongyu and Ho Ming had already arrived at the wafting fragrance restaurant. Although Ho Ming was a good person, he was only a perfected golden immortal with no background. Usually, he could only look at the wafting fragrance restaurant from afar. He did not have the ability to come here and spend money. Therefore, he followed behind Morongyu with a nervous heart. He did not know if Morongyu could really afford to spend money here. Dear guests, seeing Morongyu and Ho Ming walk in, a waiter greeted them with a smile. As the most high-end restaurant in Forest City, the waiter of the wafting fragrance restaurant was very good. No matter what kind of person you were, they would treat you warmly. As for whether the other party was here to dine and dash, it was not their business. If someone really dared to dine and dash here, then they were definitely in the wrong place. If the wafting fragrance restaurant could be open to such a large scale without a strong background, how could it be open to such a large scale? I'm looking for someone. Without waiting for the waiter to speak, Morongyu said indifferently, and then went straight to the third floor of the wafting fragrance restaurant. Seeing Morongyu and Ho Ming disappear at the corner of the stairs, the waiter's heart moved. He seemed to see that something was wrong and quickly went to find a shopkeeper. On the third floor, in a private room, Mo Fo was constantly trying to please Feng Ro. At this time, the door of the private room was violently opened and a voice sounded in their ears. Everyone, long time no see. Do you mind if I join the fun? Before the voice finished, Morongyu and Ho Ming had already walked into the private room. When he saw Ko Ping and Luo Yang, Ho Ming's heart tightened. This was because he sensed a terrifying aura from the two of them. Experts, at least Immortal King realm experts. Ho Ming roared in his heart. Because of Feng Ro's indifference, Mo Fo had a belly full of anger. At this time, when he saw someone break into the private room, he couldn't help but become angry. However, when he turned around with a murderous face, the murderous look on his face disappeared in a flash and was replaced by a face full of resentment. Mo Fo's eyes even showed a trace of surprise when he saw Feng Ro. Everyone, don't you welcome me? Morongyu smiled and sat down next to Mo Fo and Feng Ro. At the same time, he said to Ho Ming, Ho Ming, you sit over there. Senior, I can stand here. Ho Ming could feel the terrifying aura from Ko Ping and Luo Yang. It was very brave of him to stay in the private room. However, he wouldn't dare to sit between the two of them, even if he had the guts to do so. As you wish, Morongyu said indifferently, and then looked at Mo Fo. Mo Fo, long time no see. I miss you. I wonder if you felt good when you attacked the Huaxia cultivation world? At the same time, Morongyu's murderous aura was released. Chapter 606. Seeing Morongyu's murderous intent and Morongyu's strength that far exceeded his own, Mo Fo was shocked. When they first met, both of them were in the Golden Immortal stage. At that time, Mo cultivation was even higher than Yu's. Back then, Mo was unhappy with Yu and challenged him to a duel. Originally, he wanted to take the opportunity to kill Yu. However, the result of the duel was that he lost, causing him to lose face. Back then, his cultivation was even higher than Yu's. Now, he was only in the profound immortal stage. However, Yu had already reached the perfected golden immortal stage. In just a short period of time, the gap between them had become so huge. This made Mo very unhappy. Although he was shocked by Yu's rapid increase in strength, he was not afraid at all. Not only because his master, Ko Ping, was there, but also because he was the enforcer of the wind-fire cultivation world. As long as he could contact the wind-fire cultivation world's origin, Mo could teleport back to the wind-fire cultivation world at any time. No matter how strong Yu was, he would not be able to do anything to him. At the same time, Ko Ping and Luo Yang were also looking at Yu in shock. They were shocked by the speed at which Yu's strength increased. It's a pity that we couldn't destroy the Huaxia cultivation world back then, Mo said with a cold smile. If they had destroyed the Huaxia cultivation world back then, Yu would not have been the enforcer. It would have been much easier to kill him. A cold light flashed in Yu's eyes. The wind-fire cultivation world is indeed the trashiest cultivation world. How could such a trashy person become the enforcer and pass it down from generation to generation? How despicable. Ko Ping was looking at Yu coldly. As a former enforcer, he naturally knew that Yu was not that easy to kill. Otherwise, he would have killed Yu the moment he appeared. However, when he heard Yu's words, Ko Ping's face suddenly turned gloomy, and a murderous intent filled the entire room. The temperature in the room instantly dropped by a lot. Yu, you're too presumptuous. Don't you know that your seniors are here? Aren't you going to kneel down and greet me? Ko Ping shouted coldly. At the same time, the aura of an immortal monarch erupted like a tidal wave, suppressing Yu. Luo Yang's expression changed slightly, and he quickly sent a voice transmission. Ko Ping, don't go too far. He is Yang Lin's disciple. If anything happens to him today, you know Yang Lin's character. He definitely won't give up. Ko Ping's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he replied in a cold voice. Today, I'll teach him a lesson on behalf of Yang Lin, letting him know what it means to respect one's master. Don't worry, I won't kill him. When he thought of Yang Lin, Ko Ping's heart couldn't help but sink. The originally incomparably fierce, murderous intent also paused and dissipated a lot. However, his surging aura still swept towards Yu. Sure enough, if there's a trash disciple, there's a trash master. Master and disciple are both the same. Being in the same sect as all of you makes me feel ashamed. On the other hand, Yu was sitting in his chair as if he didn't see Ko Ping's oppressive aura. The surging aura rushed over like a stormy sea, rushing towards Yu. Even though this aura was only directed at Yu, Mo, who was sitting next to Yu, was still forced to stagger out. On the other side, Feng Ro was also shocked, but she was protected by Luo Yang. Just as Luo Yang was about to protect Yu, he saw this scene. At this moment, Yu was sitting calmly on the chair. Ko Ping's attack didn't even flutter his clothes or hair. What shocked everyone the most was that when the frightening aura reached Yu's side, it caused ripples to form around him. Ko Ping and the others clearly saw that when the terrifying auras he suppressed met these ripples, they disappeared into thin air. They didn't know where they were transferred to. Spatial barrier. Before Yu entered the private room, he had Black Lotus place a spatial barrier around him. In the past, when he was in the immortal realm, Black Lotus relied on this spatial barrier to withstand the attacks of thousands of experts without suffering any damage. Although Ko Ping's strength was strong, he wasn't as strong as the Clear River sect's immortal monarchs. Moreover, even if the spatial barrier didn't work, Yu still had Xiahou Zhua as his trump card. However, Yu didn't ask Xiahou Zhua to come out immediately, because he knew from Steward Ma that Ko Ping might have a powerful magic weapon. Murong, you want to know what Ko Ping's magic weapon was? So powerful. Seeing Murong Yu's appearance, Feng Ro and Ho Ming, who were standing behind him, suddenly revealed a blazing light in their eyes. However, although their gazes were blazing, the meaning behind them was completely different. Ho Ming's gaze was full of worship. Feng Ro, on the other hand, felt a rush of excitement, and a different feeling rose in her heart. What? Did I say something wrong? Ko Ping, you dare say you're not trash? With the protection of the spatial barrier, Murong Yu was simply unscrupulous and wasn't afraid of Ko Ping at all. In addition, this pair of master and disciple wanted to kill him, and Ko Ping almost killed Yu Mingxing. As soon as Murong Yu saw this pair of master and disciple, he couldn't help but want to slap them. It would be strange if they spoke politely. Murong Yu, Ko Ping is your senior. You shouldn't be like this. Luo Yang's face was a little ugly. In his heart, he was leaning towards Murong Yu. However, if Murong Yu kept insulting Ko Ping, it was hard to guarantee that Ko Ping wouldn't become angry out of humiliation and finally kill him. Luo Yang didn't want anything to happen to Murong Yu. Senior, Murong Yu sneered, and then looked coldly at Ko Ping. Ko Ping, dare I ask, are you really senior? Mo Fo sneak attacked the Huaxia cultivation world. I don't know if this has anything to do with you. However, not long ago, when my wife was undergoing her 6 and 9 heavenly tribulation, why did you attack her? You attacked ruthlessly. Not only did you want to kill my wife, but you also wanted to catch all of us in one fell swoop. Almost. You've achieved your goal. We were all seriously injured by you. My wife's soul was even shattered by you. Murong Yu said through gritted teeth. He really wanted to slap Ko Ping to death. Hearing this, Luo Yang, Feng Ro, and even Ho Ming's faces changed greatly. At this moment, even Ho Ming, who was a good person, looked down on Ko Ping. Even as a good person, a murderous intent rose in his heart towards Ko Ping. Ko Ping, is this true? Luo Yang looked at Ko Ping with a gloomy face. If this was true, Luo Yang sighed in his heart. In fact, he had already vaguely guessed that Murong Yu was telling the truth. Ko Ping's character was disdainful. Ko Ping's face was indifferent. Murong Yu, don't slander me. I've been in Forest City all these years. Who the hell knows where you were undergoing your tribulation? I'm just a mere immortal monarch. I don't have that ability. Hearing Ko Ping's words, Luo Yang looked at Murong Yu suspiciously. Murong Yu sneered. To be honest, Ko Ping, I'm also very curious about how you found us. But that's not important because I already know that you were the one who attacked us that day. Today, I came here with only one goal, to kill you. Ha ha! Ko Ping laughed loudly, his face full of disdain. Murong Yu, you think too highly of yourself. With your strength, even if I stood here and let you kill me, you still wouldn't be able to hurt me. Murong Yu sneered. How rare. I agree with that. However, Ko Ping, since I dare to come here today, I must die. By the way, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you have a terrifyingly powerful divine weapon. Ko Ping's face changed slightly. He was the only one who knew that he had a powerful divine weapon. How did Murong Yu know? However, when he thought about how Yang Ming could find out that he was the one who attacked him, he naturally thought of something. Luo Yang, you saw it too. Murong Yu wanted to kill me, so I had no choice but to kill him. Even if Yang Lin was here, it would still be the same. Ko Ping glanced at Luo Yang and said indifferently. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed Murong Yu. How dare you? Just as Ko Ping stretched out his hand to kill Murong Yu, a ripple appeared in the void between him and Murong Yu. Then, a figure appeared in front of Murong Yu and protected Murong Yu. The person who suddenly appeared was Xiahou Zhua. Seeing that Ko Ping, an immortal monarch, attacked Murong Yu, who was only a perfected golden immortal, Xiahou Zhua could not help but reveal his killing intent. With a low growl, Xiahou Zhua pointed out with his finger. Puff! After a muffled sound, Ko Ping's entire arm exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Ko Ping let out a muffled groan as he was sent flying backward. Then, he looked at Xiahou Zhuo in shock. "Who are you?" Ko Ping was extremely shocked. To be able to shatter his attack and his arm with a single finger, this person was much stronger than him. At the very least, an intermediate immortal monarch would not be able to do so. "The person who will take your dog life," Xiahou Zhuo said indifferently and stretched out his hand to grab Ko Ping. When Xiahou Zhuo made his move, Murong Yu also made his move. "Mo Fo die!" Murong Yu shouted. With a flash, he pounced on Mo Fo. At this moment, Mo Fo was shocked by Xiahou Zhuo's strength. When he saw Murong Yu pouncing on him, Mo Fo only had one thought in his mind, and that was to quickly leave this place. After all, his master did not seem to be a match for Xiahou Zhuo. If he continued to stay here, he would definitely be courting death. Therefore, he had to escape. However, when he wanted to use the Wind-Fire Cultivation World's origin to leave this place and return to the Wind-Fire Cultivation World, he was shocked to find that he could not teleport. Chapter 607. Looking at Mo Fo's shocked expression, Murong Yu couldn't help but sneer inwardly. It would be a miracle if he could teleport back to the Wind-Fire Cultivation World. This was because when they entered the room, Murong Yu not only had Black Lotus cast a spatial barrier around him, but he had also used the power of space to temporarily cover the entire room. However, the power of the world's origin was very strange. Murong Yu didn't know how long this spatial barrier could last. Moreover, Black Lotus wasn't strong enough after all. If Ko Ping had some terrifying weapon, it might be able to break Black Lotus' spatial barrier. "Die!" Murong Yu bellowed with a murderous aura. He stormed forward, aiming at Mo Fo and wanting to kill him. At this moment, Mo Fo's face was filled with terror. The reason he couldn't teleport back was because his connection to the Wind-Fire Cultivation World's origin had been forcefully severed. Without the power of the origin, Mo Fo didn't even have a chance to make a last stand. With his strength as a Xian immortal, how could he defeat Murong Yu, who was comparable to an immortal monarch? "Master, save me!" Mo Fo was so scared that his face turned pale. He screamed in terror and rushed toward Ko Ping. "You're courting death." At this moment, Ko Ping was shocked by Xiahou Zhuo's terrifying strength. The situation was critical. If he couldn't break Murong Yu's attack today, he and his disciple would definitely die here. Therefore, he roared angrily. His hair and beard stood up, and a terrifying power exploded from his body. At the same time, a golden treasure that looked like a brick appeared in front of him, and he held it in his hand. This powerful and terrifying aura was being emitted by this golden brick. "Emperor weapon!" Xiahou Zhuo's eyes lit up when he saw the brick. At the same time, he cried out in surprise. "Emperor weapon!" The crowd, who were suppressed by the terrifying aura of the Imperial armament to the point where they found it difficult to breathe, all revealed astonished expressions. Even though Murong Yu was mentally prepared, he was still shocked. Ko Ping actually had an Emperor weapon? Murong Yu finally felt relieved. He had an Emperor weapon. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to display such terrifying strength during the sneak attack. "Xiahou Zhuo, kill them. Don't leave either of them alive," Murong Yu said in a low voice as he grabbed Ho Ming and brought him to the Hichu Luoshu world. He was protected by the Black Lotus spatial barrier, so he was not pushed back by the terrifying aura of the monarch weapon. However, on the other side, Feng Ro and Luo Yang were in a sorry state. This was especially true for Feng Ro. Her face turned pale from the pressure of the Imperial weapon's aura. Blood seeped out her skin. She was on the verge of death. However, with Luo Yang protecting her now, nothing unexpected would happen for a while. Boom! When Murong Yu shouted, Xiahou Zhuo's body shook violently. At the same time, a formidable aura burst out from him. A terrifying aura swept out in all directions like raging waves, instantly tearing apart the aura from Ko Ping's Imperial armament. An Imperial weapon was equivalent to an immortal emperor. This was because an Imperial weapon contained an extremely terrifying power. Of course, if one wanted to unleash the full power of an Imperial weapon, one would need to be extremely powerful. At the very least, Ko Ping was only an early-stage immortal monarch. He was unable to unleash the full power of an imperial weapon. Therefore, the powerful aura from the imperial weapon was instantly torn apart by Xiahou Jue, a real immortal emperor. At this moment, the spatial barrier set up by the Black Lotus was still intact even after withstanding the terrifying aura of the imperial weapon and a real immortal emperor. One could imagine how powerful the Black Lotus spatial laws were. However, Mouronyu soon received a weak mental fluctuation from the Black Lotus. The Black Lotus told him that the spatial barrier could not hold on for much longer and was about to shatter. Xiahou Jue roared in his heart as he threw a punch at Ko Ping. Although Ko Ping was shocked by the fact that Xiahou Jue was an immortal emperor, his reaction was not slow. Grabbing the brick, he smashed it towards Xiahou Jue's fist. Boom! Both sides collided fiercely in the void, followed by an earth-shattering explosion. At the same time, a terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions with the place where the two sides collided as the center. Black Lotus put a spatial barrier on Mo Fo and prevent him from sensing the outside space. Mouronyu roared in his heart. Crack! Finally, the sound of glass shattering could be heard. The spatial barrier that Black Lotus had set up in the private room was finally shattered by the terrifying impact. The terrifying impact continued to spread out in all directions outside the spatial barrier. Boom! The terrifying aura of an immortal emperor. Even though the floating fragrance was reinforced with various formations and restrictions, it was still unable to withstand the terrifying aura. After a series of loud noises, the entire wafting fragrance was blown apart. There were even a few unlucky diners and staff members of the wafting fragrance restaurant who were killed by this terrifying aura. As for the rest, they were severely injured and were sent flying. This was all thanks to the various formations and restrictions in the floating fragrance inn. They had blocked most of the terrifying impact. Otherwise, not only would the floating fragrance inn have been destroyed, but everyone in the inn would have been killed. When a spatial barrier in the private room was shattered, Mo Fo instantly connected with the origin energy of the wind and fire cultivation world. Immediately, without looking at Mo Fo, he wanted to use the origin energy to teleport back to the wind and fire cultivation world. However, just as he was about to teleport back, he felt that the connection between him and the origin energy was cut off. It was as if a transparent layer had covered him, isolating him from the outside world. Seeing this, Mouronyu could not help but praise Black Lotus. If Black Lotus had placed a spatial barrier on Mo Fo before the private room was destroyed, it would have cut off Mo Fo's connection with the origin energy of the wind and fire cultivation world. However, it would have protected Mo Fo. But now cough cough, Mo Fo was frightened. He coughed blood unceasingly. That's right. Just now, he was almost killed by the terrifying force of the impact. If Ko Ping had not saved him at the critical moment, Mo Fo would have been killed. The moment the private room was destroyed, countless cultivators in Forest City were shocked by the terrifying aura. Immortal Emperor. There were immortal emperors fighting in Forest City. The terrifying aura continued to spread, and the experts in Forest City frowned at the first moment. Then, they all rushed towards the floating fragrance inn. The Lin family was a giant in Lin Province and the absolute overlord of Forest City. Immediately, a few immortal emperors rushed out from the Lin family and rushed towards Mouronyu. Bang! After exchanging a blow with Xiahou Jue, a powerful force surged out and sent Ko Ping flying. The terrifying force almost sent the Emperor weapon in his hand flying. If it had not been for the Emperor weapon blocking Xiahou Jue's attack, he would have been dead. Even if he had the Emperor weapon, he was no match for Xiahou Jue. Ko Ping knew this very well. Now that the fact that he had the Emperor weapon was exposed, he would be in a lot of trouble in the future. There would definitely be many people eyeing his Emperor weapon, and he might not even be able to keep it. After shooting a venomous glare at Mouronyu, Ko Ping suddenly turned around and flew off into the distance. Xiahou Jue, kill him at all costs. Mouronyu shouted angrily when he saw Ko Ping running away. If Ko Ping ran away this time, it would be difficult to find him again. Xiahou sneered and chased after Ko Ping in a flash. So what if Ko Ping had the Emperor weapon? Xiahou was confident that he could kill him. A mere immortal monarch would not be able to unleash much power, even if he had a divine weapon. Bang! At this moment, Morongyu had already reached Mo Fo's side. Under Black Lotus control, he smashed half of Mo Fo's body with a punch. Morongyu, you and I are from the same sect. You want to kill me? Are you not afraid of this sect's punishment? At this moment, Mo Fo was truly frightened. He couldn't help but shout at Morongyu in a threatening manner. Did you think about the sect's punishment when you wanted to destroy the Huaxiao world of cultivators? Morongyu sneered and slapped Mo Fo's face. Half of his face was smashed into mush. Trash like you and your trash master don't deserve to live in this world. Now, I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and punish you on behalf of the heavens. Morongyu's killing intent surged. Both Ko Ping and Mo Fo were black. The two of them were covered in a thick black halo. Their star ranks weren't low. Mo Fo was an evil man with at least dozens of stars. Ko Ping's evil star evildoer was even darker than Mo Fo's. His evil star evildoer was definitely above 100-star evildoer. Killing them would not only help him take revenge, but he would also be able to obtain star points from them. This was something Morongyu was very happy to see. Die! Morongyu flipped his hand and slapped Mo Fo's body. Bang! Poor Mo Fo, the enforcer of the wind and fire world of cultivators, was killed by Morongyu after cutting off his connection with the origin energy of the wind and fire world of cultivators. Asterisk splash. Asterisk the moment Mo Fo was killed, the wind and fire world of cultivators in the mortal world, the originally clear sky, suddenly turned as red as blood. Then, heavy rain poured down. Blood rain. This is blood rain. Everyone in the wind and fire world of cultivators looked at the sky in horror. At this moment, the entire sky was as red as blood, and the heavy rain was as red as blood. Furthermore, a thick smell of blood filled the entire wind and fire world of cultivators. This isn't rain, it's blood. It's all blood. Everyone in the wind and fire world of cultivators was shocked as they looked at the sky in horror. They did not know why this was happening. Could it be that the world was going to be destroyed? Chapter 608. In a wind-fire cultivation world, the entire world was raining blood. Furthermore, to the horror of all the cultivators of the wind and fire world, the rain of blood was actually real blood. The entire world was raining blood. No one knew what was going on because not many people in the wind-fire cultivation world knew about the existence of the enforcers. Even if they did, they would not have thought that the reason for the rain of blood was because the ruler of their world had fallen. Morongyu, who was in the immortal world, did not know that blood was raining in the wind-fire cultivation world. Just as he slapped Mo Fo into a bloody mist, a ball of energy rushed out of Mo Fo's body and shot into the distance. Trying to escape? Morongyu snorted coldly. He reached out his hand and caught the ball of energy. Then he sealed it. Then he soared into the sky and chased after Xiahou. Ko Ping's strength had reached the immortal monarch realm. He was an expert in the immortal world. In addition, he had an emperor weapon, which made him even more powerful. At this moment, Ko Ping had already rushed out of the forest city and fled into the distance. Xiahou chased after him. Morongyu furrowed his brows at the sight of this. He was not worried about Ko Ping. If Ko Ping did not have any other tricks up his sleeve, he would definitely die today. Around him, many experts in the forest city were alarmed and rushed out. These people would definitely interfere with him. Not for anything else, but because of the emperor weapon in Ko Ping's hand. If Ko Ping did not have a divine weapon, Morongyu would not be worried about these people. However, it was different now. The temptation of an emperor weapon was too great. Xiahou, end this quickly. Morongyu transmitted his voice to Xiahou. Xiahou nodded. He also knew the severity of the situation. Therefore, he instantly raised his strength to the limit and rushed forward to stop Ko Ping. Then, he unleashed a storm of powerful attacks. Emperor weapon. The forest city was a big city, and a colossus like the Lin family was stationed there. Apart from the Lin family, there were many immortal emperors in Lin City as well. At this moment, 5 or 6 immortal emperors had already rushed out and were watching the battle between Xiahou Jue and Ko Ping with burning eyes. Boom, boom, boom. Ko Ping struggled to withstand Xiahou Jue's terrifying attacks. Even though he had an imperial weapon in his hand, it was still extremely difficult for him to withstand the attacks. Furthermore, the consumption of the imperial armament was simply too great. While he might be able to sustain it for a short period of time, he would not be able to sustain it for long. No matter what, he would not be able to escape death today. Ko Ping was well aware of this. Therefore, his attacks were extremely fierce, and he looked like he was going to fight Xiahou Jue to the death. However, Xiahou Jue's strength was much stronger than his. Even if he wanted to risk his life, he was unable to do so. Everyone, the weapon in my hand is an imperial weapon, a completely undamaged imperial weapon. Today, as long as anyone can kill this person and that person, I, Ko Ping, will present this imperial weapon with both hands. Suddenly, Ko Ping's voice came from the middle of the battle. Oh no! Murong Yu and Xiahou Jue's expressions changed drastically. Murong Yu did not expect Ko Ping to be so vicious. Since he had made such an offer, under the temptation of an imperial weapon, the surrounding people would definitely make a move. Sure enough, before Ko Ping's voice had even died down, Murong Yu felt that he was being locked onto by several powerful divine wills. In fact, Murong Yu even saw an immortal emperor slowly walking towards him. The other immortal emperors had already closed in on Xiahou Jue. Friend, I think we should just let this matter go. How about it? The 4 immortal emperors' divine wills locked onto Xiahou Jue and slowly closed in on him. Xiahou Jue was furious. He ignored them and attacked even more fiercely. Everyone, please immediately kill these 2 bastards. I, Ko Ping, am a man of my word. As long as you kill them both, I will immediately give you an imperial weapon. Ko Ping was flustered by Xiahou Jue's attacks and could not hold on any longer. Aha! Ko Ping, you shameless bastard. Do you think anyone would believe your words? If I'm not mistaken, you'll take the opportunity to escape as soon as they make a move. Run as far away as you can. Suddenly, Murong Yu burst into laughter. Ko Ping's face flashed with anger. That was exactly what he was thinking. However, how could he admit it? Everyone, I, Ko Ping, am a man of my word. As long as you kill them, I will immediately give you an imperial weapon. But I don't believe you. Put down the imperial weapon first. An immortal emperor's divine wills locked onto Ko Ping and said indifferently. Ko Ping's expression changed slightly. He could not put down the imperial weapon. Once he did so, he would immediately die. Now that the imperial weapon was in his hands, he still had a chance to live. Put down the imperial weapon and leave immediately. The immortal emperors looked at Ko Ping simultaneously. In fact, it was much easier for them to take the imperial weapon from Ko Ping than to kill Xiahou Jue. Moreover, they might not be able to kill the immortal emperor Xiahou Jue. How could an immortal emperor realm expert be killed so easily? Moreover, once they killed Xiahou Jue, they might attract the attention of the faction behind him. Rather than provoke Xiahou Jue, they might as well take the imperial weapon from Ko Ping. Ko Ping's expression kept changing as he cursed in his heart. Thousands of thoughts flashed through his mind as he tried to think of a way to escape. Friend, if we help you kill this person, his imperial weapon will belong to us. What do you think? An immortal emperor looked at Xiahou Jue and said with a smile. Scram! Xiahou Jue was already unhappy. He did not need their help at all and would not give the imperial weapon to them. This was because Xiahou Jue did not have an imperial weapon himself. When he found out that Ko Ping had an imperial weapon, he already had the intention of taking it. If that's the case, then let's see what happens. The immortal emperor's face darkened. He exchanged glances with the other immortal emperors and was about to make a move. Wait, I want to say something, then you can decide whether to take the imperial weapon or not. At this moment, Murong Yu shouted. Kid, what do you want to say? The immortal emperors who were about to make a move looked at Murongyu with disdain when they heard Murongyu's words. However, they did not make a move. They were also curious about what Murongyu wanted to say. Could it be that they would not dare to make a move? My name is Murongyu. For my sake, how about you not make a move to take the imperial weapon today? I, Murongyu, owe you a favor. Murongyu said in a deep voice. He had to say this because his side was still too weak. Xiahou was an immortal emperor and was definitely not a match for them. A favor from you? Is a favor from you very valuable? The four immortal emperors and many nearby immortals were stunned. Then, one of the immortal emperors could not help but laugh. Do you think it's funny? He's just a little perfected, golden immortal, and he wants us to give him face. He even owes us a favor. What a joke. I haven't seen such a funny thing in many years. Another immortal emperor also laughed, not caring about the demeanor of an immortal emperor. Bastard! Murongyu was so angry that his face turned pale when he saw them laughing at him without restraint. The fury in his heart soared to the heavens as boundless killing intent emanated from him. Murderous intent surged from his body, making him look extremely terrifying. Was a favor from him not valuable? Those who knew him knew that his favor was even more valuable than the favor from the Immortal Palace and the demonic sect. After all, Murongyu's medical skills were unparalleled in the world. He was a divine doctor. If they could get a favor from him, they would have an extra life. Didn't they see that Murongyu only spread the news that he was looking for the soul grass, and a large number of experts flocked to Feng City? Even immortal emperors like Xiahou came to him to seek refuge, to become his punishers. Now, these people were looking down on him. Good. Very good. I'll remember you. Xiahou, kill Xiahou with all your strength. We'll give up on this emperor weapon. This time, we admit defeat. The next time we come to Lin City, I'll make them pay back 10,000 times. Murongyu's voice was cold and filled with murderous intent. Clearly, he was furious. At this moment, Murongyu even regretted not bringing Mingji along. That way, even if the other party had several immortal emperors, he would still have a chance of winning. However, Xiahou was the only immortal emperor now. Even with his help, the Yin-Yang Cauldron, and the Black Lotus's space law, he was still no match for them. Instead of letting Xiahou die, it was better to just give up. Xiahou was also furious. At the same time, he could feel Murongyu's helplessness and anger. But now that he was weaker, he could only give up. These bastards, they're really digging their own graves. Xiahou's gaze swept past the immortal emperors as if he wanted to remember them. He could hear the terrifying, murderous intent in Murongyu's voice. He knew that these immortal emperors would definitely die. Murongyu would definitely not let them go. Although Murongyu was only a golden immortal, Xiahou believed that it would not take long for Murongyu to kill these immortal emperors. A wise man submits to circumstances. The immortal emperors sneered and were about to attack. Sigh, kid. I can hear the unwillingness, anger, and murderous intent in your voice. This must be the first time you've experienced something so helpless, right? At this moment, a faint voice sounded. Just as everyone was feeling confused, a figure appeared out of thin air not far from Murongyu. Old man. Murongyu's expression changed slightly, and then it was replaced by joy. The anger and unwillingness in his heart seemed to have faded a lot, but his murderous intent became even more terrifying. It was as if the old man's arrival would change the outcome of the matter. The person who came was the previous enforcer of the Huaxia cultivation world, the old man with unfathomable strength, Yanglin. Chapter 609. Who are you? Do you want to interfere in this matter? Perhaps they felt that the old man was unfathomable. The immortal emperors frowned slightly. Then, one of them asked in a deep voice. Xiahou, on the other hand, was slightly relieved. After all, he could tell that the old man was also an immortal emperor. Now, they had at least 2 immortal emperors on their side. They weren't too weak and could still fight against the old man. The old man glanced at the people present indifferently. Then, his gaze slowly swept across the faces of the immortal emperors. Then, his face suddenly turned cold. Scram, or die. As he spoke, an immortal emperor-level aura soared into the sky. It was like a stormy sea. Wherever the aura passed, the void was shattered. At this moment, the immortals who hadn't reached the immortal emperor realm were all shocked by the terrifying aura. Their faces turned pale, and they quickly retreated. This was because the old man wasn't targeting them. Otherwise, he could kill countless experts below the immortal emperor realm with just his aura alone, even if the opponent was an immortal monarch. The immortal emperor's faces suddenly changed and became extremely gloomy. They all looked at the old man with murderous intent. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Yang Lin, when he saw the old man appear, Ko Ping almost couldn't help but exclaim. He knew the old man's character. Now that the old man appeared, he had even less hope of escaping. When he saw the old man's terrifying aura, Ko Ping felt even more desperate. Others might not know how terrifying the old man was, but he knew. Many years ago, Yang Lin's strength was already very strong and could kill people above his level. In fact, at the beginning, Ko Ping's strength was much higher than Yang Lin's. But in the end, he was beaten up by Yang Lin. Since then, Ko Ping had been suppressed by Yang Lin. Therefore, he hated Yang Lin to the core, but he was also very clear about Yang Lin's strength. Now that Yang Lin had broken through to the immortal emperor realm, how terrifying was his strength? Ko Ping didn't know, but he vaguely felt that these immortal emperors might not be Yang Lin's match. Who do you think you are? The immortal emperor who spoke earlier looked at the old man with a gloomy expression. His murderous intent was overflowing. I'm nothing. Yang Lin faintly smiled. I will give you 10 breaths of time. If you don't leave by then you can die. His voice was calm, but it was very strong and full of confidence. You're courting death. One of the immortal emperors couldn't help but shout. His figure swayed, and he appeared beside the old man. Then, he threw a punch at the old man's head. At that moment, Murong Yu saw the old man's eyes erupt with a resplendent radiance. At the same time, Yang Lin attacked. During this process, he did not teleport Murong Yu away, nor did he use his power to protect Murong Yu. Was he just confident in his own strength, or did he have information about Murong Yu? One should know that the one who attacked him was an immortal emperor. Even if the aftershock of their power swept out, it would still be able to severely injure a high immortal expert. Bang! It was as if 2 stars in the starry sky had collided and a deafening explosion erupted. At this moment, the crowd only saw the 2 fists colliding. Then they saw the immortal emperor who attacked the old man spitting out blood and flying backward. A casual punch from the old man had severely injured the immortal emperor. Murong Yu, who was standing beside the old man, clearly saw this scene. In fact, during this entire process, he did not even feel the aftershock of their power or the terrifying impact it produced. Their attacks were not without impact. Many people saw that with the old man as the center, the space, the ground, and the mountains within a radius of tens of thousands of miles were directly shattered by the terrifying impact. However, the area around the old man was not affected at all. This was because of the old man. The terrifying impact could not break through his defense. Dying after punching the immortal emperor until he spat out blood and flew backward, the old man's eyes flashed with a cold light. He shouted in a low voice and took a step forward at the same time. All Murong Yu saw was the old man raising his right hand and chopping down with a hand blade at lightning speed. Puff! At this moment, time seemed to have been messed up. Murong Yu could clearly see the fear on the immortal emperor's face as he was sent flying. He clearly saw the old man's hand chop directly on the immortal emperor's body. Other than the fear on his face, the immortal emperor was unable to dodge. Murong Yu clearly saw when the old man's hand chopped directly on the immortal emperor's body. The body of this early-stage immortal emperor was like a piece of tofu. Under the old man's terrifying power, it turned into a cloud of blood mist with a bang. Furthermore, under the effect of the violent power, the cloud of blood mist was directly blasted into fine powder and disappeared without a trace. An immortal emperor was killed just like that. Murong Yu and the surrounding people, including the immortal emperors, were all shocked and in disbelief. That was an immortal emperor. He died just like that. He was killed by the old man's hand chopped directly. Didn't they say that immortal emperors were very powerful and difficult to kill? Is this true? The surrounding people were deeply shocked. During this process, time seemed to have stopped. Countless people maintained their shocked expressions. Even those immortal emperors were filled with astonishment. They were even more shocked than the ordinary people. They were all immortal emperors. They all knew how difficult it was to kill an immortal emperor expert. However, the old man actually killed that immortal emperor within 2 moves. Strictly speaking, the old man only used 1 move to kill that immortal emperor. Such strength had already far surpassed that early-stage immortal emperor expert. He was at least in the mid-stage or even the late-stage immortal emperor realm. Even a mid-stage immortal emperor expert could not kill an early-stage immortal emperor expert so easily. Let's go. After discovering the old man's strength and terror, the remaining immortal emperors felt the aura of death. If they continued to fight for the emperor weapon, they would definitely die. Therefore, they quickly reacted and wanted to escape. However, would the old man, who had already decided to kill them, let them leave? Ko Ping sighed in his heart. He knew that these experts were all going to die today. As for him, there was no way he could survive. As expected, the old man snorted coldly and said indifferently, "Everyone, I gave you what you wanted before, but you didn't cherish it. Now, all of you will stay here forever." As he spoke, the old man's figure flashed and disappeared. The moment the old man disappeared, an immortal emperor let out a scream. Following the scream, everyone looked over and saw an immortal emperor suddenly explode into a cloud of blood mist. At this moment, the old man's figure slowly appeared in the void near him. "Stay here," the old man said indifferently and punched out with his right fist. With slow speed. The old man's fist was extremely slow in everyone's eyes. It was moving slowly like a snail. However, the immortal emperor, who was the old man's target, didn't think so. An extremely terrifying aura quickly strangled him, and the immortal emperor suddenly felt an extremely strong aura of death in his heart. The immortal emperor roared and stopped running. Instead, he instantly increased his strength to the extreme, turned around, and punched out. Boom! The old man's fist was still slowly moving forward. However, at this moment, the immortal emperor's fist fiercely collided with an invisible force. The immortal emperor's fist and hands were instantly crushed into powder by the terrifying force. At the same time, the immortal emperor spat out blood and was sent flying. The moment the immortal emperor was sent flying, a loud explosion erupted. With a bang, the immortal emperor was directly crushed into a cloud of blood mist. He couldn't be more dead. What's going on? Everyone present had this question in their minds. However, there was an exception. That person was Murong Yu. When the old man punched out, Murong Yu already felt that he wasn't simple. Therefore, he immediately shared Black Lotus's perspective. The so-called shared perspective meant that Murong Yu wanted Black Lotus to display what he saw in his mind at the same time. Under Black Lotus's space law, Murong Yu could clearly see. Although the old man's fist was only punching out slowly, the old man's fist was still moving. However, an invisible force had already entered the void, carrying a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. It quickly strangled the immortal emperor in front of him with lightning speed. Because this invisible force entered the void, it didn't cause any fluctuations in the space. Therefore, almost no one present could see the mystery behind it. It was just that the person who was targeted by the old man felt that death was approaching him, so he reacted effectively. Out of the 4 immortal emperors, 3 were killed in a short period of time. The speed, the strength, and the ruthlessness of the old man's methods could all be seen at a glance. "You two, stay here." The old man glanced at the last immortal emperor indifferently, then disappeared in a flash. "Senior, Please stop. He's an expert of my Lin family. Please spare his life for the sake of the Lin family." At this moment, the other immortal emperor who didn't make a move earlier suddenly shouted. This immortal emperor was the one who targeted Murong Yu. He didn't force Xiahou Jue, so the old man didn't want to kill them. Chapter 610. Bang! When the Lin clan immortal emperor shouted, the old man had already struck the Lin clan immortal emperor. Before the other immortal emperor of the Lin family could finish his sentence, the immortal emperor of the Lin family had already been smashed into pieces by the old man. He couldn't be any more dead. Seeing that the old man had actually killed his own immortal emperor, the other immortal emperor of the Lin family was furious. He looked at the old man with murderous intent, as if he wanted to attack. However, in view of the old man's terrifying strength, he didn't attack. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but he didn't dare. Once he made a move, the old man would kill him with a thunderous blow. So he's an immortal emperor of the Lin family? I heard that the Lin family is an overlord of the Lin state. They're so powerful that they've already reached the level of a super force. An immortal emperor of such a family bullied a disciple of the golden immortal realm, like me? Is he really a disciple of the Lin family? The old man flew back and looked at the remaining immortal emperor of the Lin family with a surprised expression. The immortal emperor of the Lin family's expression became very ugly. All along, the Lin family's reputation in the Lin state was quite good. However, today, the fact that an immortal emperor had bullied a small fry was confirmed. What made the immortal emperor of the Lin family the most depressed was that they didn't get anything. On the contrary, an immortal emperor had fallen. This was definitely a huge loss for the Lin family. Is he really an immortal emperor of the Lin family? Friend, why didn't you say so earlier? If you'd said so earlier, I would have stopped. Now that I've killed him, I'm sorry that you lost an immortal emperor. However, I really doubt if he's really an immortal emperor of your Lin family. The people of the Lin family shouldn't be so despicable, right? I killed an immortal emperor of the Lin family without knowing it. It's my fault. I'm sorry. However, your Lin family won't take the opportunity to take revenge, right? The old man looked at the immortal emperor of the Lin family with a smile. He said a lot of things, basically blocking the mouth of the Lin family. He repeatedly stated that he didn't know who the immortal emperor was before killing him. If he knew that the immortal emperor was from the Lin clan, he wouldn't have killed him. Moreover, he first praised the Lin family as a big force that was not despicable and was a very decent force. Then, he used a rhetorical question to force the Lin family not to take revenge on him. In that case, the Lin family would not seek revenge. Well, our Lin clan is not that kind of person. Of course, we won't take revenge. The immortal emperor of the Lin clan's face was flushed red. His heart was filled with killing intent, but he could only grit his teeth and say, "Very good, that's right." The old man was still smiling. "Goodbye," the Lin clan immortal emperor said in a muffled voice. Then, he turned around and soared into the sky. He really couldn't stay here any longer. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to restrain himself from making a move on this smiling old man. Of course, if he was strong enough, he would have sent the old man flying with a slap. "Old man, you're really cunning." Murong, you couldn't help but say to the old man after the Lin clan's immortal emperor left. Bang! The old man knocked on his head with a finger. "This old man is just and honorable. How am I cunning? Isn't this for your own good? After all, the Lin clan is a super force. They're very powerful. If they seek revenge, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Don't I still have you?" Murong Yu said indifferently. "What a good-for-nothing." The old man glared at Murong Yu. Of course, he knew that Murong Yu was just joking. "Old man, how did you appear here so coincidentally? What realm are you at? Isn't your strength too terrifying? You can kill immortal emperors like they're dogs." Murong Yu asked curiously. "I just happened to pass by. If I didn't happen to come here, I'm afraid you wouldn't have gotten any benefits today, right?" The old man looked at Murong Yu and said indifferently. Murong Yu's heart flashed with a touch of emotion. Just as the old man said, If the old man didn't appear today, it would be a tragedy for him. He was ganged up on by these immortal emperors. He couldn't even kill Ko Ping and could only leave Lin's state in anger. But now, when the old man killed the immortal emperors, Xiahou Zhuo didn't just sit around. He used his strongest strength and attacked Ko Ping crazily. However, Ko Ping, who had an emperor weapon, was also very terrifying when he went all out. After an earth-shattering battle, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. At this moment, Ko Ping was finally killed by Xiahou Zhuo. After killing Ko Ping, Xiahou Zhuo took Ko Ping's storage ring and emperor weapon and walked toward Mu Rongyu with an excited expression on his face. Sacred Master, Senior. Xiahou Zhuo first bowed to Mu Rongyu, then turned and bowed respectfully to the old man. The old man's strength was worthy of his respect. Sacred Master, what do you think of this emperor weapon? Xiahou Zhuo looked at the emperor weapon in his hand with a burning gaze. Clearly, this monarch weapon was very attractive to him. If he could refine this monarch weapon into his own natal divine weapon, his strength would increase by at least 50%. Old man, you don't like this emperor weapon, right? Mu Rongyu looked at the old man and asked with a smile. Although Xiahou Zhuo had killed Ko Ping and snatched this imperial armament, it was still very powerful. However, they were able to obtain this emperor weapon completely because of the old man. If it wasn't for the old man, they wouldn't have been able to obtain this emperor weapon. Although an emperor weapon is good, it doesn't suit me, the old man said indifferently. A smile appeared on Mu Rongyu's face. Since that's the case, you can keep Xiahou Zhuo. Find some time to refine it. Sacred Master, you're really giving this emperor weapon to me? Xiahou Zhuo's face was filled with excitement and disbelief. This was an emperor weapon. It could be said to be one of the most powerful divine weapons in the immortal world. Mu Rongyu was giving it to him without batting an eyelid? Was Mu Rongyu really this generous? If it was any other person, they would have kept the emperor weapon long ago. Even the old man looked at Mu Rongyu in shock. He originally thought that Mu Rongyu wanted this emperor weapon for himself. However, to their surprise, Chu Feng did not even bother to take a glance at this extremely powerful imperial armament. What they didn't know was that Mu Rongyu had many emperor weapons of this level in his hands, although many of them weren't emperor weapons. With an additional emperor weapon, Mu Rongyu's strength might increase by a notch. However, it was useless to Mu Rongyu. It would only cause trouble for Mu Rongyu. If he gave this emperor weapon to Xiahou Zhuo, Xiahou Zhuo's strength would increase. Guaranteed. This way, the Heavenly Court's strength would be even stronger. Whether it was the Heavenly Court's strength or his own, it was all the same to Mu Rongyu. Xiahou Zhuo, don't you want it? If you don't want it, just give it to me. Mu Rongyu looked at Xiahou Zhuo with a grin. Haha, since that's the case, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Xiahou Zhuo laughed and kept the emperor weapon. He would be a fool if he didn't want it. After seeing Mu Rongyu's generosity and sincerity, Xiahou Zhuo secretly sighed that he didn't follow the wrong person. How long had he followed Mu Rongyu? He had obtained an emperor weapon. One had to know that emperor weapons were extremely rare in the immortal world. Most immortal emperors might not even have one. And now, he had obtained an imperial weapon that he had always dreamed of. He was excited. However, at the same time, he was secretly grateful to Mu Rongyu. His loyalty to Mu Rongyu had increased. Even if Mu Rongyu hadn't completely healed his soul, Xiahou Zhuo wouldn't have left the Heavenly Court. Just the friendship of this emperor weapon was enough for him to become a true member of the Heavenly Court. Yang Lin, your strength is still shocking. At this moment, Luo Yang finally flew over. He was only in the immortal monarch realm and had a profound immortal Feng Rou to protect him. He didn't dare to get too close. Luo Yang, you've become weaker again. The old man glanced at Luo Yang and said indifferently. Luo Yang was speechless. His strength had always been improving. How could he have become weaker? However, he was used to it, because every time he saw Yang Lin would say the same thing. This was because Yang Lin's strength had increased too quickly. The gap between him and Luo Yang was getting smaller and smaller. Naturally, In Yang Lin's eyes, Luo Yang's strength was getting weaker and weaker. All right, let's return to Lin City first. If you're not afraid of trouble from the Lin family. Luo Yang looked around. After the great battle, the ground had been blasted into a huge desert. It really wasn't a good place to talk. Yang Lin only smiled faintly. So what if the Lin family was powerful? He wasn't afraid. Don't forget, he wasn't a wandering cultivator. The Heavenly Punisher Palace behind him was many times larger than the Lin family. In fact, they were all from the Heavenly Punisher Palace. Why would they be afraid of a mere Lin family? In a certain restaurant in Lin City, Murong Yu's group of 5 were all present. As for that good guy, he seemed to have been forgotten by Murong Yu after Murong Yu threw away all the Hichu Luo Shu. Now that you've killed Ko Ping and Mo Fo, will there be any trouble? Won't there be chaos in the wind and fire realms? Luo Yang asked in a low voice as soon as they sat down. There was a faint trace of worry on his face. What trouble? Who would dare to find trouble with me? As for the wind and fire realms, there might be people in the Heavenly Punisher Palace who are itching to make a move. However, they aren't from the wind and fire realms, so they can't control the wind and fire realms. Unless they're recognized by the wind and fire realms, the old man said faintly. However, how difficult was it to be recognized by the wind and fire realms? Only people from the wind and fire realms could be recognized by the wind and fire realms. However, when Murong Yu heard the old man's words, an extremely bold idea suddenly flashed through his mind. What if I become the wind and fire realms punisher? Murong Yu suddenly asked. Everyone turned to look at Murong Yu in shock. They were shocked by Murong Yu's bold idea. Chapter 6:11. You want to become the enforcer of the wind-fire cultivation world? Everyone looked at Murong Yu in shock. They didn't know why he would suddenly have such a bold idea. A smile appeared on Murong Yu's face as he looked at the crowd. What? Is it not possible, or is my idea too whimsical? It would be great if you could become the enforcer of the wind-fire cultivation world. However, you're already the enforcer of the Huaxia cultivation world. Moreover, you are not the enforcer of the wind-fire cultivation world. It is impossible for you to become the enforcer of the wind-fire cultivation world. Moreover, no one in history has ever been the enforcer of 2 worlds. Luo Yang looked at Murong Yu and said in a deep voice, Your idea is too whimsical. However, it is a good idea. The problem is, how can you become the enforcer of the wind-fire cultivation world? You won't even be able to obtain the wind-fire cultivation world, let alone obtain its acknowledgement, the old man said in a low voice. Murong Yu's idea was not only bold, it was also unprecedented in history. This was because no one would attempt such a seemingly impossible thing. After all, the enforcer of each world could only be someone from that world. Although this idea is bold, it is unprecedented in history. That is because they don't dare to think about it and don't dare to do it. Murong Yu is full of confidence. If he could become the enforcer of the wind-fire cultivation world, it would be a great help to his strength and all of his forces. No one dares to think that way. That's because in the history of Punishers, basically no one has died during their term of office, the old man said indifferently. Mo Fo was unlucky. He was trapped by the spatial laws of the Black Lotus and couldn't use the origin energy of the wind-fire cultivation world. In the end, he was killed by Murong Yu. A normal sealed space would not be able to isolate the origin energy from the enforcer's senses. Even immortal emperors would find it difficult to kill the enforcers of the cultivation world. Mo Fo's death was a complete tragedy. Perhaps I can obtain the recognition of the wind-fire cultivation world and enter the wind-fire cultivation world. At the same time, Murong Yu raised his hand. In the center of his palm, there was a mass of gray energy flowing there. Origin energy. Apart from Xiahou Zhua, everyone else present was a punisher. Of course, Yang Lin and Luo Yang were no longer punishers. However, they were very familiar with origin energy. Therefore, they immediately recognized that the grayish energy in Murong Yu's hand was origin energy. This isn't the origin energy of the Huaxia cultivation world. Could it be the origin energy of the wind and fire cultivation world? As a former punisher of the Huaxia cultivation world, Yang Lin was very familiar with the origin power of the Huaxia cultivation world. However, the origin energy in Murong Yu's hand gave him a strange feeling. Murong Yu nodded and said with a smile, "It is indeed the power of the wind-fire world. When I killed a mofo, I killed him instantly. It was because of the origin energy of the wind-fire cultivation world that Murong Yu had such a bold idea. With the origin energy, Murong Yu had a slight chance of becoming the wind-fire cultivation world." Everyone was speechless. At the same time, they were also curious about how Murong Yu had managed to keep the origin energy of the wind-fire cultivation world. Even the old man was a little surprised. They were very familiar with the origin energy of their respective worlds. Because of this, they knew that once the Punisher was killed, the origin energy would immediately return to the cultivation world. Even an immortal emperor couldn't keep it. Therefore, they were very surprised that Murong Yu was able to keep the origin energy of the wind-fire cultivation world. What they didn't know was that it wasn't Murong Yu's ability, but because of Black Lotus. Although the origin energy was powerful, it was very little in Mo-Fo's body. When Black Lotus attacked with all his strength, it was normal for him to keep the origin energy. If I can refine the origin energy, I might be recognized by the wind-fire cultivation world's origin energy. Of course, this matter isn't absolute. However, I still have to try. Murong Yu said with a smile. Back then, when Murong Yu had discovered the origin energies, he'd only instinctively intercepted them. He hadn't thought of refining them or becoming an enforcer of the fiery wind cultivation world. The chances of success are very low. After all, the wind-fire cultivation world's origin energy should already know about Mo-Fo's death. We have to do this as soon as possible. How about this? You leave Lin City now and go back to Feng Province or the Heavenly Punisher Palace. The old man said in a deep voice. Murong Yu nodded. After all, this was the Lin family's territory. The old man had killed an immortal emperor of the Lin family. It was hard to guarantee that the Lin family wouldn't make a move on them. Moreover, if Murong Yu refined the origin energy here, it would be even more troublesome if something happened. However, the old man and the others didn't know that Murong Yu now had two extremely powerful spatial magic treasures. One of them had the heaven-defying ability of teleportation. Not long after, they left the restaurant. They parted ways in the city. The old man wanted to travel the world and couldn't return to Feng City with Murong Yu. This made Murong Yu feel a little regretful. Luo Yang and Luo Feng also left. Feng Rou, in particular, seemed to have been provoked by Murong Yu's strength. She said that they would meet again in the future. Ho Ming, if there's nothing else, you should also leave Lin City. I'm afraid that the people of the Black Profound sect won't let you go. After the old man and the others left, Murong Yu remembered that Ho Ming was a good person and released him from the Hichu Luoshu world. You don't have to go anywhere. Stay here. At this moment, an unpleasant voice sounded. Suddenly, Murong Yu and Ho Ming felt that they were locked on by a powerful divine sense. Ho Ming's expression changed slightly. Senior, you should leave first. Don't worry about me. Ho Ming suddenly said to Murong Yu because he found that the people of the Black Profound sect were very powerful. They were far more powerful than those who were killed by Murong Yu before. Ho Ming had been in the Hichu Luoshu world all this time and didn't know what happened to Murong Yu and the others. Otherwise, not to mention these ant-like existences, even if the Black Profound sect came out in full force, Murong Yu wouldn't pay attention to them. They're really persistent. Since that's the case, I'll give them a hard time. Murong Yu frowned, and his heart was filled with killing intent. Now that he didn't have to stay in Lin City, he was naturally not afraid of causing trouble. Moreover, he urgently needed time to go back and refine the origin energy of the wind and fire cultivation world. He didn't have time to be entangled with these people. Most importantly, Murong Yu saw that these people weren't very strong, but they were all surrounded by black chi. These people were all star-level villains. Killing them would be beneficial to Murong Yu. Die. A few people rushed out and attacked Murong Yu and Home Ming without saying a word. Among them, one of them was even an immortal king. Feeling the terrifying aura that erupted from the other party, Home Ming's face turned pale and his heart was filled with despair. He was only a golden immortal. How could he be a match for these people? It should be known that the weakest among these people was a 9 heavens Xian immortal. You're overestimating yourself. You're courting death. Murong Yu sneered in his heart. He took a step forward and stretched out his hand to grab the immortal king of the Black Profound sect. Seeing that Murong Yu, an ant at the Golden Immortal Realm, dared to attack him, the immortal king of the Black Profound sect revealed a sinister smile. Then he also stretched out his hand and grabbed Murong Yu's hand. However, the smile on the immortal king's face instantly froze. It was as if he had been frozen. This was because when his hand came into contact with Murong Yu's hand, it had already been destroyed by an extremely terrifying force. After instantly shattering the immortal king's power, Murong Yu's large hand went straight forward. It fiercely slapped the immortal king's chest. Bang! After a muffled sound, the immortal king's entire chest was slapped until it caved in. At the same time, a violent force erupted from Murong Yu's hand. With a loud bang, the immortal king was blown into a cloud of blood mist. The immortal king realm expert was dead. At this time, the attacks of the 9 heavens Xian immortals of the Black Profound sect were only halfway there. When they saw that their own immortal king had been killed, they could not help but be shocked. All of you die. Murong Yu shouted and struck out with a total annihilation. Bang! 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 With his strength of close to 8,000 coiled dragon power, the void was shattered with a palm strike. How could the 9 heavens Xian immortals, who only had 3,000 to 4,000 coiled dragon power, be his match? In fact, these 9 heavens Xian immortals had been killed by Murong Yu before they could even react. This can't be real, right? Seeing that Murong Yu had killed the experts of the Black Profound sect in an instant, Home Ming rubbed his eyes in shock, almost unable to believe what he had seen. After killing these people, Steward Tian's voice sounded in Murong Yu's mind. Congratulations, young master. You have obtained 300 stars this time. In addition to the 2,638 stars from before and the 500 stars from killing Mo Fo, young master now has a total of 3,438 stars. After killing Mo Fo, Murong Yu had obtained 500 stars. One can imagine what kind of person Mo Fo was. As for Ko Ping, who had a higher star rating than Mo Fo, he was killed by Xiahou Zhua. Murong Yu did not obtain any stars. Not bad. Killing these bastards gave me 300 stars. Although it's not much, it's better than nothing. Murong Yu said to Steward Tian in his mind. Young master, there are many villains in the Black Profound sect, and many of them are not very strong. This is a good opportunity to earn stars. Murong Yu rolled his eyes. Steward Tian was encouraging him to destroy the Black Profound sect. However, this Black Profound sect was full of star-level villains. They had done too many bad things. Not only could he obtain stars by destroying them, but he could also get rid of evil for the people. This was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Chapter 612. The Black Mysterious Sect was one of the first-rate forces in Forest City. Among them, the sect master and a few elders of the Black Mysterious Sect had reached the immortal realm and were extremely powerful. Although the Lin family was a giant in Lin State and the ruler of Forest City. However, the Lin family was not the only force in Forest City. Other than the Black Mysterious Sect, there were many other forces of various levels. Many of them were even subsidiary forces of the Lin family. The Black Mysterious Sect was one of the subsidiary forces of the Lin family. Therefore, the Black Mysterious Sect had always relied on the strength of the sect and their relationship as a subsidiary force of the Lin family to act tyrannically and commit all kinds of crimes in Forest City. Even though many people were unhappy with them, not many forces dared to touch them. As for the Lin family, because the Black Mysterious Sect had done what a subsidiary force should do, they turned a blind eye to their actions. As a result, the Black Mysterious Sect became even more lawless and committed all kinds of crimes. At this moment, in front of the Black Mysterious Sect, two people were slowly walking towards the Black Mysterious Sect. "It's you?" When the Black Profound Sect guards saw the intruder, they immediately shouted. One of them even rushed towards the intruder with a murderous look on his face. In the process, he even stretched out his hand and grabbed one of the two people. "Ho Ming, you actually dare to come to our door? You're really seeking death." The guard who attacked laughed and directly attacked Ho Ming with his big hand. They all knew Ho Ming. This was because Ho Ming was a good person in a nearby civilization. However, this good person often went against the Black Mysterious Sect. Not long ago, the Black Mysterious Sect sent out experts to kill Ho Ming because he had ruined one of their good things. Because Ho Ming was a good person, he had gone against the Black Mysterious Sect more than once. This time, the Black Mysterious Sect finally could not help but want to kill him. However, Ho Ming had many friends. The Black Mysterious Sect immediately sent out a few experts to kill him. However, what made the Black Mysterious Sect furious was that the experts they sent out were killed. This made the people of the Black Mysterious Sect realize that Ho Ming must be with one of his friends. However, Ho Ming's strength was not strong after all. No matter how strong his friend was, there was still a limit. Hence, the enraged Black Profound Sect sent out their experts for the first time. This time, there were immortal kings among them. And now, not long after they sent out the immortal king expert, Ho Ming had delivered himself to their doorstep. Could it be that they couldn't find Ho Ming? Perhaps Ho Ming knew that he was going to die, so he came to seek his own death. This thought flashed through the minds of the Black Mysterious Sect guards. Then, someone made a move. For villains like them, people like Ho Ming had long been killed. Scram! Seeing that the other party had ignored him, Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. With a loud roar, Murong Yu threw a punch at her. Bang! This guard was only a perfected golden immortal. How could he withstand Murong Yu's strength of 7,500 coiling dragons? After a muffled sound, the guard was blasted into a bloody mist. He couldn't be more dead. Seeing this scene, the other guards of the Black Mysterious Sect were stunned. The one who was killed was their leader. His strength was considered very strong among the guards. The strength of these guards was not even at the Golden Immortal realm. Die, all of you! Murong Yu glanced at them and saw that these people were more or less covered in a black halo. Compared to the almost dazzling white halo of Ho Ming, the contrast was too great. Murong Yu sent out a punch. In an instant, a berserk energy surged towards the guards like a stormy sea. Boom! After a loud explosion, the guards in the gate of the Black Mysterious Sect were directly blasted into dust by Murong Yu's attack. Whoosh! A figure appeared beside Murong Yu. It was the immortal Emperor Xiahou Zhua. Xiahou Zhua, pay attention to the immortal monarchs of the Black Mysterious Sect. Don't let them escape. Leave the rest to me. Murong Yu said to Xiahou Zhua in a deep voice. Then, with a burst of speed, he rushed into the Black Mysterious Sect. Xiahou Zhua nodded. He immediately soared into the sky and appeared above the Black Mysterious Sect. His huge divine thoughts spread out and enveloped the entire Black Mysterious Sect. Bang! 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 Murong Yu unleashed his speed. He was like a tiger in a flock of sheep. Every time he punched out, someone would be killed. Of course, Murong Yu did not kill everyone. In the Black Mysterious Sect, not everyone was an evil person. There were also good people. Even if there were no good people, some of them had not reached the level of a star-level evil person. After these days of understanding the heavenly punishment order, Murong Yu had a deeper understanding of star-level evil person and good person. The so-called star-level evil person or good person of the star realm meant that their evil person and good person had reached the standard of star level. For example, if Murong Yu killed a 1-star evil person, he would at least get a 1-star reward. However, not everyone who was shrouded in a black halo was a star-level evil person. Some people who had a very faint black halo did not reach the standard of a 1-star evil person. Even if Murong Yu killed them, he would not get any reward. Of course, the Heavenly Punishment Order wouldn't punish Muronyu even if he killed anyone with a black halo on their bodies. After all, anyone who possessed a black halo of light could be considered to be an evil person. Therefore, when Muronyu rushed into the Black Mysterious Sect and started a massacre, he killed all the evil people who were 1-star evil person and above. There were many experts in the Black Mysterious Sect. Murongyu's figure constantly moved inside. Every time he killed an evil person, Steward Tion's voice would resound in his mind. Sometimes it was 1 star, sometimes it was dozens of stars. However, Muronyu finally got Steward Tion to stop reporting. After all, his killing speed was too fast. Every time Steward Tion killed an evil person, he would report the number. This caused Steward Tion's voice to resound in Murongyu's mind, which was quite annoying. Below the Immortal King realm, any evil person who was hit by Muronyu was killed by Muronyu with a single punch. In a short period of time, Muronyu had already killed 200 evil people, or even more. At this moment, the experts of the Black Mysterious Sect finally reacted. With a roar, an immortal monarch of the Black Mysterious Sect attacked. A huge hand shot out from the depths of the Black Mysterious Sect, carrying a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. It ruthlessly slapped toward Muronyu, wanted to smash Muronyu into powder. Humph! Seeing this, Xiahou Zhuo, who was in the void, could not help but coldly snort and point out a finger. With a bang, the huge hand that the immortal monarch had slapped out shattered. Furthermore, a terrifying force quickly surged into the immortal monarch's body through the huge hand. The immortal monarch could not help but let out a muffled groan as his face instantly turned pale. Blood slowly flowed out of his 7 orifices. Xiahou Zhuo did not even make a move, but he had already injured the immortal monarch. One could imagine the huge gap between the immortal monarch and the immortal emperor. When the immortal monarch attacked, the other immortal monarchs of the Black Mysterious Sect had already reacted. In an instant, huge hands that contained a terrifying aura continuously struck out, either towards Muronyu or towards Xiahou Zhuo, who was in the void. Xiahou Zhuo sneered in his heart. With a flip of his huge hand, he slapped down on the Black Mysterious Sect. Bang! 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 As the palms slapped down, a terrifying force filled the void. Moreover, although this terrifying force carried a terrifying pressure, under Xiahou Zhuo's control, it did not strike down. Instead, it was split into 5 and directly bombarded the 5 immortal monarchs of the Black Mysterious Sect. Almost at the same time, the 5 immortal monarchs' bodies shook violently. At the same time, they were shocked to find that their meridians had been completely shattered and their strength had been sealed. Immortal Emperor. The 5 immortal monarchs were horrified. They finally knew who had attacked them. Who was it? Could it be the Lin family who did not kill them? The experts of the Black Mysterious Sect kept roaring in their hearts. They could only think of the Lin family. Although the Lin family was not the only force in Lin City that had immortal emperors. However, other than the Lin family, who would dare to touch the Black Mysterious Sect? Touching the Black Mysterious Sect was equivalent to going against the Lin family. The Lin family was a super force and the overlord of Lin City. Even those super forces did not dare to touch the Lin family. Could it be that after doing so many bad things, the Lin family was finally going to make a move on them? The immortal monarchs of the Black Mysterious Sect were all ashen. Why? We have given the Lin family many benefits over the years. Why do you want to destroy our Black Mysterious Sect? Why? Finally, the sect leader of the Black Mysterious Sect roared unwillingly. Hearing this, Xiahou Zhuo still looked indifferent. Xiahou Zhuo had unknowingly become one of Murongyu's most loyal subordinates. He was only carrying out Murongyu's orders. Everything else had nothing to do with him. When Muronyu heard the sect leader of the Black Mysterious Sect's words, his face turned gloomy. The Lin family is indeed up to no good. As he spoke, Muronyu had already rushed in front of the immortal monarchs whose strength had been sealed by Xiahou Zhuo. I'm sorry to disappoint you. The one who wants to destroy you is not the Lin family, but I'm Murong Yu. However, you don't have to worry. Sooner or later, I'll destroy the Lin family." As he spoke, Murong Yu slapped the Black Mystic sect master to death with a single slap. How could an immortal monarch whose strength had been sealed withstand Murong Yu's strength? After killing the sect leader of the Black Mysterious sect, Murong Yu continued to move. In a few moments, he had already killed the other immortal monarchs of the Black Mysterious sect. Then, the massacre continued. Without the threat of the immortal monarchs, the Black Mysterious sect was even more vulnerable. Chapter 613. With the help of Xiahou Jua, an immortal emperor, Murong Yu carried out the bloodiest massacre of the Black Profound sect. Of course, he only killed star-level villains. In less than half a day, the entire Black Profound sect, except for the good people and the villains who had not reached the star level, were all killed by Murong Yu. The good people and the villains who had not reached the star level were not even 1% of the total number of people in the Black Profound sect. The star-level villains of the Black Profound sect were almost 100%. One could imagine how evil the Black Profound sect was. Now that it was destroyed by Murong Yu, it was really getting rid of a scourge for the people. After destroying the Black Profound sect, Murong Yu completely emptied the treasury of the Black Profound sect. Then, he left Lin City with Hong Ming and Xiahou Jua. Only then did the Lin family receive the news that the Black Profound sect had been destroyed. When they arrived at the Black Profound sect, they only saw the Black Profound sect razed to the ground. Murong Yu had long disappeared without a trace. This is too presumptuous. The Lin family was not only furious, but no one chased after them. After all, they knew that there was an immortal emperor among Murong's people. Chasing after an immortal emperor? Although the Lin family was a super force, they also had many immortal emperors. However, now that Murong Yu had destroyed the Black Profound sect, it could be said that he had gotten rid of a scourge for the people. Over the years, the Black Profound sect had indeed become more and more excessive. If they still dared to chase after Murong Yu and the others, the people of Lin City and even Linzhou would definitely be dissatisfied with them. In this way, the reputation of the Lin family would be damaged. Of course, not chasing after Murong Yu did not mean that they were not angry. As the news spread, the Lin family began to investigate Murong Yu's whereabouts. Far away from Lin City, Murong Yu and the others stopped. Hong Ming, now that we are far away from Lin City and the Black Profound sect has been destroyed, what do you think? Do you want to stay outside for a while before returning to Lin City, or go somewhere else? Hong Ming pondered. He spent most of his time in Forest City and rarely went to other places. Now that he had witnessed Murong Yu's terrifying strength, he no longer wanted to stay in Forest City. "Senior, may I follow you? Although I'm not very strong, I won't cause trouble for you." Hong Ming looked at Murong Yu and said carefully. A smile appeared on Murong Yu's face when he heard that. Murong Yu is a good person. With this kid's character, it would be strange if he didn't cause trouble for Murong Yu. However, if there was such a good person in the Heavenly Court, it would only be beneficial to the Heavenly Court. "Hong Ming, I am the Holy Lord of the Heavenly Court, the Master of the Heavenly Court. If you want to follow me, you must join the Heavenly Court and become a part of it. I'm willing to join the Heavenly Court and become a part of it. Moreover, I'll be absolutely loyal." Hong Ming immediately declared before Murong Yu could finish. Murong Yu nodded. He wasn't worried that a good person like Hong Ming would be disloyal. After all, even if such a good person had some shortcomings, he wouldn't betray him. "However, your speed is too slow. You should enter my spatial treasure first. Once we return to the Heavenly Court, I'll let you out." As he spoke, Murong Yu directly put Hong Ming into the Hichu Luoshu. After that, Murong Yu also put Xiahou Jua into the Hichu Luoshu world before entering it as well. Then, Hichu Luoshu teleported and disappeared. Immortal World, Feng Province, Feng City, Heavenly Court. Whoosh! A figure appeared out of thin air in the Heavenly Court. It was Murong Yu. The moment Murong Yu appeared, Solitary Doom, who was resting in the Heavenly Court, opened his eyes abruptly and released his enormous divine thought. However, when he discovered that it was Murong, he retracted his divine thought and closed his eyes again to rest. After releasing Xiahou Zhua and Hong Ming from the Hichu Luoshu world, Murong entered the Hichu Luoshu world. He was going to refine the origin energy of the wind and fire cultivation world. However, before refining the origin energy, he observed the people in the heavenly punishment order. At this moment, Zhao Jiqing and the others were still fighting wildly with various experts in the heavenly punishment order. Because they knew that they could resurrect infinitely in the heavenly punishment order, they were extremely ferocious in battle. As a result, they gave their all in every battle to kill their opponents. In this state of fighting for their lives, their strength increased rapidly. Although they had not broken through to the next realm, their actual combat strength was constantly increasing. It was far from what they could compare to before. Moreover, what made Murong happy was that although they knew that they could resurrect infinitely in the heavenly punishment order, they were still fighting for their lives. However, while they were fighting with their lives on the line, they cherished their lives. During this process, none of them were killed. Of course, it was inevitable that they would be injured. However, these injuries could only be treated by themselves. Murong would not help. Butler Tian, how many star points did you get from annihilating the Black Mystery sect? Murong asked Butler Tian in his mind. Young master, you got tens of thousands of star points from annihilating the Black Mystery sect. In addition to the star points from before, you have a total of 58,996 star points. Butler Tian's voice rang in Murong's mind. A trace of astonishment appeared on Murong's face. Butler Tian, you actually obtained over 50,000 stars this time. Murong was indeed shocked. Previously, he only had a total of 2,638 stars. This time, he got more than 55,000 star points. This number was very shocking. There are too many villains in the Black Mystery sect. It is expected that you can get so many star points. Butler Tian said. Murong rolled his eyes. He did not know how many people he had killed from the Black Mystery sect this time. The more star points he got, the more shocked he was. This was because more star points meant that he could get the soul grass sooner. However, the more stars he had, the more people he had killed, and the more evil people he had killed. However, because the people he had killed were all villains, Murong did not have much psychological burden. Young master, you are now executing the villains on behalf of the heavenly punishment order. You're doing a good deed. Butler Tian might have felt the change in Murong's mood, so he transmitted his voice to him. There are still too many evildoers. Murong sighed, but soon after, he became happy again. There are less than 950,000 star points left before I can reach 1 million star points. At that time, I can exchange for the soul grass. Murong was very happy. Big gangster, you seem to be very happy. What did you get this time? After Murong found Yu Mengqing saw the smile on his face. Soon, your soul will be repaired. It is not long now. Murong laughed. Really? Yu Mengqing was also surprised. After all, who did not want to be a complete person and be able to do what they liked? Of course it is true. However, before that, little beauty, don't you want to do something? Murong looked at Yu Mengqing. He laughed. Yu Mengqing rolled her eyes, but she took the initiative to move closer to him. Then, they did some things that were not suitable for children. After a long time of passion with Yu Mengqing, Murong left. At the same time, Hichu Luoshu teleported and appeared in the Huaxia self-cultivation world. Then, Murong directly teleported to the origin space of the Huaxia self-cultivation world. This was something that Murong had discussed with the origin space of the Huaxia self-cultivation world. With the help of the origin space of the Huaxia self-cultivation world, it would be easier for him to refine the origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world. After coming out of Hichu Luoshu, Murong sat cross-legged in the origin space and took out the origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world. Bang! 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 The origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world kept colliding, trying to break through Murong's control and escape. However, its power was too weak. It was impossible for it to escape. With a cold snort, Moronyu immediately started refining it. However, the origin space of the Fenghua's self-cultivation world did not cooperate at all. It kept colliding. It did not give Moronyu any chance to refine it. After half a day, Moronyu still could not refine the origin space of the Fenghua's self-cultivation world. Moronyu could not help but feel annoyed. Origin space of the Fenghua's self-cultivation world. I know you can hear me. If you don't cooperate, I will burn this origin space of the Fenghua's self-cultivation world. As he spoke, Moronyu took out the yin-yang fire and said in a deep voice, "In this place, Moronyu sealed the space and did not give the origin space of the Fenghua's self-cultivation world any chance to escape. He did not stop him from sensing. Because of this, the origin space of the Fenghua's self-cultivation world kept struggling and did not want Moronyu to refine it. However, at this moment, when it sensed the terror of the yin-yang fire, it calmed down. If Moronyu burned this origin space of the Fenghua's self-cultivation world, it would cause serious damage to the origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world. This was because the origin space of the Moronyu was equivalent to a part of the soul of the Fenghua self-cultivation world. When Mo Fo was acknowledged by it, it gave a part of its soul to Mo Fo. This was the only way Mo Fo could better communicate with the origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world and borrow its power. Once this origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world was burned, it would definitely cause serious damage to the origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world. Originally, the Fenghua self-cultivation world was not very powerful. It should be known that the strength of the enforcers was related to their origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world. The two of them complemented each other. The stronger the enforcers were, the stronger the origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world would be. On the contrary, the origin space of the Fenghua self-cultivation world could benefit from them. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.